The story begins in a messy, slightly dilapidated room where footprints on the floor stretch from the window to the closet before vanishing. Suddenly, the closet door is shoved open from the inside and a voice yells, "Damn, that hurts like hell. I must have committed some serious sins in my past life." The young man covered in leaves with tattered clothes is Chu Min-Vu, the protagonist of our story. He steps out of the cramped closet, brushes the leaves off himself, and mutters, "So damn filthy. Did I crash into some forest last night or something?" Min-Vu pulls his collar up and takes a deep sniff. A sickly sweet scent hits him, making him dizzy, and without hesitation he strips off all his clothes. He rushes into the bathroom to wash away the stench and filth from his body, and at that very moment, voices from outside start flooding his ears. "You're already 30 years old. Can you please go find a job? Hiding in your room all day, it's so annoying. Don't expect me to look after you. Hey, you idiot, do you even know how to drive? Who are you calling an idiot? You're the one who's directionally challenged, so why blame others? Ouch, why are you hitting me? I haven't hit you yet. I just gave you a little nudge. Ah, my head hurts so much I can't take it anymore. Damn, are you trying to play the victim? Meow, 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 that damn stray cat is stealing my chicken again." Just then, Min-Vu pulls the curtain aside to let the morning sun into the room. Immediately, a barrage of noisy chatter from outside rushes toward Min-Vu. He quickly puts on his headphones and the voices vanish. He lets out a breath of relief. A moment later on the road, a yellow cat is carrying a fish back to its den when someone on a bike zooms past at lightning speed. The cat's fur stands on end in terror. It's none other than Chu Min-Vu listening to a catchy sentimental song playing in his ears. My heart breaks when I realize I'm gay. Will the world understand, or will it mock my love? Why must a man love another man? Why does heaven love to tease me like this? He pedals along, lost in his thoughts. I remember an anime where the main character wakes up as a different person every morning. I've had a similar problem since I was a kid, except I just frequently wake up in weird places. Like in a pigsty. My most outrageous one was on top of a high-voltage tower. I still wonder how I managed to climb up there. Just then, Min-Vu passes a traffic accident. A voice rings out, "Hey, brother, wake up. I only gave you one little nudge. I'm the one who's hurt here. If you don't have 300 million, don't even think about me opening my eyes." The man in blue gets angry and raises his cane. "Fine. I have to get some money back at least." The man in yellow runs for his life. The noisy commotion doesn't distract Min-Vu's thoughts. Besides, my hearing is super sensitive. I can hear sounds within a 100-meter radius. I've even been to the doctor. They just said you're a sleepwalker with hypersensitive hearing. It's perfectly normal. No major issues. That'll be 1,000, please. Normal sleepwalking. I'm going to die like this. Heaven only knows what I do when I'm sleepwalking. A while later at Not Trung University, irrelevant information keeps flooding into Min-Vu's ears in the classroom. Under Min-Vu's row of desks, two girls are chatting. The girl in pink asks, "On the way to school, I saw you talking to that pretty girl. Who was she? Was she?" The girl in red replies, "I don't know her either. She was looking for someone. She's looking for that jerk who scammed her and flirted with so many other girls." Hearing this, the girl in pink scolds. "He's got such a pretty girlfriend, and he's still out there playing around. What a total animal in human skin." Min-Vu, sitting above them, can barely take it. His hand clenches, his face darkens, and he thinks, "Can't I have a moment of peace?" But he's helpless, so he just grits his teeth and endures it. The two girls' conversation continues. "Is this jerk in our school? What's his name?" "The name of that jerk sounds familiar. I think it's Chu Min-Vu." Upon hearing this, Min-Vu immediately spits out the water he just drank along with a topping of his breakfast from earlier. He slams the table and stands up. "Hey, you girls in front, can you stop spreading rumors? Who are you calling a jerk?" The two girls turn around at the same time. "Who are you?" Min-Vu declares, "I am Chu Min-Vu." The two girls turn back to each other, completely ignoring Min-Vu. He's probably that jerk. How disgusting he was even eavesdropping on us. He's even in our same major. Let's ignore him, we'll get contaminated. Upstairs, Min-Vu is trembling with rage. Is the cost of creating a rumor this cheap now? Damn it, I'm so pissed. Where on earth is this rumor even coming from? Or maybe it's just someone with the same name. A jerk. I've been single for 19 years. How would I even have the qualifications to be one? Just then his phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Chu Min-Vu, I'm Lai Van Phi. I want to test your skills. Meet me at 167 Vong Son Street. After reading the text, Min-Vu immediately thought, this must be the guy spreading those rumors. He gritted his teeth in anger and whispered to himself, You brought this on yourself. Just you wait. Cut to the afternoon at an abandoned building at 167 Vong Son Street. How long has this place been deserted? Why do I feel like I'm being messed with? Despite his doubts, he walked inside bored. A coin-flipping sound echoed through the air, making Minvu wonder, what was that noise? Following the sound, he looked up and saw a silhouette on the roof. Someone's up there. Are they going to jump? Without a single second of hesitation, Minvu sprinted straight up to the roof. Li Vanfei was still sitting there in the same position. With an incredibly relaxed expression, he tossed a coin into the air and caught it effortlessly. Ha heads! Looks like my luck isn't bad today. Just then, Minvu rushed up, drenched in sweat and panting heavily from the climb. Hey buddy, please just calm down. Think about your family and your mom. Don't break their hearts. Life is tough, I know, but if you're gone, what are they supposed to do? Think about the rent, car payments, and all those other bills. Even if you're dead, those debts don't just disappear. Plus, insurance won't pay out for suicide. You look older than me. Do you have kids yet? Diaper money, school fees, insurance premiums, those are huge burdens. Li Vanfei turned around looking confused. What kind of nonsense are you babbling about? This unexpected question left Minvu completely baffled, not knowing what was going on. The guy jumped down from the railing trying to look cool. I've been waiting here for a long time. Glad you finally showed up, Minvu asked. Huh? Who are you? Do we even know each other? Let me introduce myself. I'm Li Vanfei. Previously, I heard about you from some seniors. I was really intrigued, so I came to meet you. Minvu interrupted. Wait a minute. Does that mean you aren't planning to jump? Jump someone as handsome and dashing as me? Why on earth would I jump? Damn it, why didn't you say so earlier? You never asked. Well, if this is just a misunderstanding, I'll be taking my leave. After saying that, Minvu turned to leave, but Li Vanfei quickly called out, Hold on. Chu Minvu, I'm not finished yet. You aren't going anywhere. Minvu turned back, puzzled. Huh? How do you even know my name? Li Vanfei looked mysterious. I know more than just your name. I know all about the power hidden inside your body. Minvu didn't care at all. He turned to walk away, saying, I don't know you and I have somewhere to be. Li Vanfei called out after him, flustered. Wait, don't leave. I'm the one who asked you here. Hearing this, Minvu stopped dead in his tracks. His rage flared up instantly. He turned back and challenged him. Wait, so you were the one who sent that text? Li Vanfei answered casually. That's right, it was me. You have the nerve to admit it. Why were you spreading rumors that I'm a deadbeat dad? What did I ever do to offend you? But Li Vanfei didn't answer his question. He just flicked his finger lightly and something whizzed right past Minvu's face. A small cut appeared on Minvu's cheek and a few drops of blood sprayed out. A few strands of hair were sliced off by the shockwave. Turning back, he immediately saw 3 razor-sharp needles embedded in the ground. A strange, incredibly powerful energy was still radiating from those needles. Li Yunfei grabbed 3 more needles and said, Spread rumors, I don't do such boring things. I sought you out because I wanted to see the power of the celestial dog with my own eyes. Everyone says this power is completely unlike anything else, so I wanted to see for myself exactly what makes it so different. Hearing what Li Yunfei just said, Minvu was completely bewildered. Celestial dog. What are you talking about? What power? Buddy, I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding here. I'm just a normal person. I don't have any magical powers at all. But Li Yunfei still took a combat stance and said, whether you do or not, we'll find out soon enough. A fight with you will tell me everything. Seeing the situation, Minvu didn't hesitate for a second. He turned and ran for his life before Li Yunfei's astonished eyes. Wait, he actually ran away. He's running. Is this guy crazy? He starts a life-or-death fight at the drop of a hat. Disaster just fell out of the sky onto my head, and now some random person is ambushing me. This is such bad luck. What the hell is going on today? Soon after, Minvu had run out of the building. But from high above, Li Yunfei launched a needle, slamming it right in front of Minvu, forcing him to stop. Terrified, Minvu looked back up. Immediately, another needle shot down, grazing Minvu's face. They embedded themselves in a circle around him, and it seemed like these needles were connected. Faint sparks of terrifying lightning flickered. They quickly formed a sphere of lightning, trapping Minvu inside. Just a moment later, Minvu's eyes rolled back, smoke billowed from his body, and he collapsed completely unconscious and motionless. Li Yunfei jumped down, sounding suspicious. This is truly strange. How could he not even withstand a single blow? Could I have really grabbed the wrong person? Looks like this whole trip was a waste of time. I would have been better off playing games at home, Li Yunfei muttered as he turned to leave. Just then, an intense red light flashed from behind Li Yunfei. Minvu, who was lying behind him, was actually getting back up. Li Yunfei clearly felt the power radiating from behind him and immediately turned around to look. A strange red energy was engulfing Minvu's entire body, even altering his physical appearance. His eyes glowed a fierce red and sharp long claws began to grow from his hands. Minvu was breathing heavily, his chest heaving with every breath. Li Yunfei, incredibly excited, exclaimed, "I knew things weren't as simple as they looked. This guy was definitely hiding his true strength. Since you're this tough, you should have shown your real skills sooner." Haha, right at that moment, Minvu suddenly tilted his head toward the sky and let out a long, howling roar. Then he dropped to all fours, crouching low to the ground like a wild beast hunting its prey. Seeing that Minvu still didn't answer or attack, Li Yunfei muttered, "Can't he hear what I'm saying?" He didn't get hit so hard he went stupid, did he? As he spoke, Li Yunfei stepped closer to Minvu. Standing right in front of him, he waved his hand and said, "Hey, did you actually get dumb?" However, Minvu just stared blankly. He didn't make any reaction at all. Seeing this, Li Yunfei reached out to pinch his cheeks, flicked his forehead, and even playfully pulled at Minvu's face. Li Yunfei didn't notice that Minvu's hand was now gripping the ground, digging deep into the soil. Before Li Yunfei's shocked eyes, Minvu suddenly reached out. He clamped his hand tightly around Li Yunfei's throat. The look on Minvu's face was now filled with a wild, primal aura, looking exactly like a savage beast in a fit of rage. He squeezed Li Yunfei's throat and lifted him straight into the air. Choking and foaming at the mouth, Li Yunfei thought in terror, "This strength is just way too terrifying. Is this even a person anymore?" He hurriedly performed a hand seal and silently chanted a spell, Divine Needle Technique, Thunder Call, Electric Surge, Wind Walk. Immediately, the needles embedded in the ground began to tremble violently, pulling themselves out of the earth and soaring into the sky. Li Yunfei used 2 fingers to make a pulling motion toward himself. The needles flew rapidly toward Minvu, pinning straight into his face, but they couldn't seem to pierce his tough skin. Suddenly, they all exploded at once, a totally unexpected turn of events. It forced Minvu to let go of Li Vanphi, who seized the opportunity. He quickly backed away to keep a safe distance, rubbing the red mark on his neck while muttering, "That was too careless. I never expected him to be this formidable." The dust and smoke gradually cleared away, revealing Minvu still standing there completely unharmed. He rubbed his shoulder against his face as if the previous attack felt like nothing more than a mosquito bite to him. Seeing Minvu without a single scratch, Li Vanphi thought to himself, "Is this the true power of the heavenly dog?" Immediately, Minvu lowered his body into a ready stance again, and in a split second he completely vanished from sight. Li Vanphi couldn't keep up with Minvu's terrifying speed. His eyes widened in shock as Minvu appeared right beside him. Then he threw a punch straight at the guy's face, but Li Vanphi reacted instantly to block it, only for the crisp crunching sound of breaking bones to suddenly echo out. Right after that, Li Vanphi was sent flying into the air like a cannonball, and Minvu didn't hesitate for a second. He flew up to pursue him closely as Li Vanphi thought to himself, "If this continues, it's not going to end well." Minvu wore a terrifying, savage grin while Li Vanphi suddenly smirked and quickly formed hand seals to unleash the heavenly thunder technique. Just as Minvu thrust his hand through his chest, his body turned translucent and ethereal, while the needle buried in the ground began to flicker with strange energy. After that, Li Vanphi instantly reappeared at the exact spot where that needle was. "Good thing I kept one needle on the ground. Can't mess around anymore, gotta end this in one shot." Li Vanphi started chanting continuously, and as soon as Minvu landed on the ground, he shouted the mantra, "Subtle Vacuum." The heavenly thunder reemerges, which god dares defy me, which demon dares rush forward. Once the divine dragon appears, 10,000 demons shall submit. I command you to descend immediately. Right beneath Minvu's feet, a strange formation appeared. Shining with a brilliant golden light, a mighty dragon surged up from beneath the formation, as Li Vanphi muttered, "I didn't really want to use this on you, but I've got no other choice." "I don't believe you can survive this hit." Minvu was currently tensing every muscle in his body, trying his best to stand upright, his eyes clearly reflecting the image of the dragon diving down ferociously. And then, Minvu was completely swallowed by the blinding golden light, the sheer force of the attack, sending dust billowing everywhere. Li Vanphi muttered, "No matter how strong you are, there's no way you came out of that unscathed." Heh, that was close, nearly played with fire and burned myself. Suddenly, at that moment, a car came speeding toward them and screeched to a halt right near Li Vanphi's position, and a girl slowly stepped out. She had long jet-black hair, large blue eyes, and an incredibly cold expression with a sword strapped to her back. Lee Van Fee looked surprised, turned to the girl, and spoke up. Hey, could you leave first? This person is mine. Lee Van Fee stood there stunned and asked back, Huh? You're telling me to leave? The girl replied coldly. Yeah, better leave now while you still can. I'm afraid you don't know my legendary reputation yet, but I can't blame you. Listen closely. I am the genius who appears once in a century possessing immense power and an IQ of 85. I'm the spellcaster that makes everyone fall for me. That's Lee Van Fee right here. The girl just stared blankly, feeling utterly confused by Lee Van Fee's pathetic antics, but right after that, and she just turned around and started walking away, without a care in the world. Seeing himself being totally ignored, Lee Van Fee shouted, Hey, I'm talking to you. That is very rude of you. At least play along a little bit. Suddenly, a cold blade was held right against Lee Van Fee's neck. If you dare get in my way again, I will kill you. Did you hear me clearly or what? Lee Yunfei was so annoyed that the girl in front of him had managed to get his name wrong again. Veins bulged on Lee Yunfei's face as he gripped 3 needles, tightly snarling, Looks like I'll have to carve my name into your brain, so that you finally remember who I am. I am Lee Yunfei. Just at that moment, a loud voice suddenly rang out, interrupting him. Wait a minute! The one who spoke was a woman, the driver who had brought the girl here. The woman complained, You sorcerer types are always looking for a fight the second you meet. Could you please wait until I'm far away, before you start killing each other? I'm just a regular gig worker. I don't have any supernatural powers like you lot. As soon as she finished speaking, the woman slammed the car into gear. She floored it and sped away. Shall they call me once you're done dealing with this, okay? The girl replied, Got it. As soon as Lee Yunfei saw the emblem printed on the car, his pupils constricted instantly. That was the mark of the Sovereign Bureau. Senior Little Sun had mentioned this place before. They specialized in handling all sorts of missions within the sorcerer world. Even though they operated independently from other factions, no one dared to underestimate them, only because this organization was founded by that person. So this fierce little brat actually works for the Sovereign Bureau. This is getting complicated. Just then a strange sound was transmitted directly into Lee Yunfei's ear. Brat, get your butt back here right now! Lee Yunfei's face fell in defeat as he telepathically replied, Master Tian. Master Tian's powerful voice continued to scold him. You little punk, you dared to sneak behind my back to look for the heavenly dog. And on top of that, you're provoking the Sovereign Bureau. If you don't get back here right now, I'm going to break your legs. After saying that, he waved his hand, dispelling the paper talisman floating in front of him. Looking down at the figures of Lee Yunfei and the girl below, he sighed softly. Why do I always get stuck with such bad luck? Down on the ground, Lee Yunfei had no choice but to compromise. All right, fine. Since you're so interested in this guy, then I'll leave him to you. Seeing that he was being reasonable and wouldn't stop her anymore, the girl sheathed her sword and spoke coldly. Thanks for your cooperation. Lee Yunfei curiously asked, You guys came here for the heavenly dog too, didn't you? But the girl didn't answer at all, brushing past Lee Yunfei with a cold demeanor. Lee Yunfei didn't take offense. He called out after her, Hey! That guy is a tough nut to crack, you know. If you can't handle him, just leave it to me. The girl still didn't respond. She kept walking forward slowly, lifting her head to fix a sharp, icy gaze, deep into the swirling dust, hidden within that thick cloud of smoke. Minvu's terrifying blood-red eyes suddenly appeared. Minvu began to crawl out from the rubble. Even though he had been hit by Lee Yunfei's powerful finishing blow, Minvu's body didn't seem to have suffered any damage at all. However, the moment he saw the girl standing tall before him, his expression changed instantly. He struggled to stand up, his entire body erupting with a terrifying power. It created fierce winds that blew everything around them away. The girl slowly stepped closer and greeted him. We meet again. I couldn't catch you last night because I was careless and let you escape. But that definitely won't happen a second time. As she finished her sentence, the girl reached out to draw her sword. The moment the sharp blade left the sheath, the surrounding atmosphere suddenly turned freezing cold. The leaves and objects around them were quickly frozen solid. The girl gripped her sword tightly beneath her feet. A thick, chilling layer of ice had formed. Because of the special aura protecting his body, those cold currents didn't seem to have any effect on Minvu. The girl then unleashed a technique, first style shattering jade. Countless sharp ice shards formed rapidly and shot toward Minvu. The girl suddenly leaped into the air. controlling the freezing ice to attack Minvu relentlessly. It seemed that because he hadn't fully grasped the power of the heavenly dog, Minvu stood motionless like a statue. He could only look up and face the freezing rain of ice coming down on him. The devastating impact made Minvu scream in agony. Just before his consciousness was completely swallowed by the darkness into the void, a dream began to appear before his eyes in his hazy state of mind. In the middle of a vast green field, he was sleeping soundly, snoring rhythmically with a long trail of drool until a voice called out, "Wake up, Minvu! Wake up right now!" Minvu jolted awake, bolting upright, his hand reflexively wiping away. With sleepy eyes, a middle-aged man stood towering right in front of him, none other than his own dear father. "Wake up, kid! You actually dared to sneak off here and oversleep, huh? Come on, wake up and let's go home." His father's rough yet incredibly warm hand gently ruffled the boy's hair, accompanied by a question filled with love. "What's wrong, still dreaming? We're having braised pork for dinner tonight." The mention of that delicious braised pork instantly made Minvu beam with joy, his eyes crinkling shut with a smile. Minvu was carried on his father's back as they headed home. The silhouette of the father and son moved forward step by step, leaving behind the devastated landscape of an orchard where trees had been uprooted. They lay scattered across the ground. The bright, cheerful expression on Minvu's face suddenly faded, replaced by a look heavy with thought. "I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't know anything. I just wandered off aimlessly." His father cast a faint glance over his shoulder, a kind smile playing on his lips, offering warm comfort. "It's all right. No matter how far you run, and I can always find you." The boy leaned his small face against his father's sturdy back. "Is that really true, Dad? Are you sure?" His father's gaze suddenly sharpened as he looked into the distance, his voice dropping to a somber tone. "That's hard to say for sure. There will come a time when I won't be able to be by your side anymore." Hearing those words, Minvu's eyes widened in shock, welling up with tears. "But just a second ago you said you'd always come find me." "You're lying. You tricked me." His father turned his head back, his smile still bright, trying to soothe his son's wounded heart. "Even if I'm not around anymore, I still have friends. They might be a bit weird, but they will definitely come to help you." Hearing his father say this, the boy's face drooped again, filled with sadness and doubt. "Is that really true? Besides, do you even have any friends, Dad?" His father turned back and replied, "How could I not have any friends, huh?" Minvu kept questioning him relentlessly. "Then, why? I've never seen them come over to hang out with you. You didn't get into a fight with them, did you? If that's the case, will they even come to help me?" His father let out a soft, meaningful sigh. "Minvu, one day you'll grow up. You can't just keep relying on others forever. You can't expect me to come wake you up or drag you home every single time. Sooner or later, you'll have to learn to wake up and find your own way home." At that very moment, Minvu slowly opened his eyes, reality gradually returning to him. Bright red energy surged and flowed throughout his body. He began to fade away as he fully woke up. The first thing that hit his sight was that girl brandishing a sword radiating icy cold energy. She lunged straight at him. Minvu's eyes bulged in shock and a curse slipped out. "Holy crap!" He instinctively dropped low, dodging the incredibly dangerous strike. It brushed right past him by a hair's breadth. Without the slightest hesitation, the girl immediately spun around and landed a kick straight to Minvu's face. A blow as heavy as a sledgehammer that sent him flying back 10 meters, slamming his back hard against a wall of a nearby building. He looked at the girl who was advancing toward him with a murderous aura. Minvu was terrified. "Who are you? Don't come any closer!" His whole body trembled violently as he tried to scream at the top of his lungs. "Help! Someone help me! She's trying to kill me!" His sudden change in attitude left the girl, stunned and confused. "Huh? Are you back to your normal self already?" Even though Minvu was scared, he still tried to threaten her. "Hey! Stay away from me. If I unleash my powers, you're going to regret it." Suddenly, he froze, staring at his own hands. He fell into a panic upon seeing sharp claws sprouting from his fingers. "Ah, what's happening to me? I've turned into a monster." Witnessing Minvu flailing about chaotically, the girl's eyes showed clear signs of boredom and exasperation. She slowly raised the sword in her hand. Pointing the tip straight at his face, she asked in a cold voice, "Chu Minvu, you've really returned to your normal self, haven't you?" Seeing the sharp blade held right in front of him, Minvu immediately stopped his crazy antics, cowering as he looked at the cold mist radiating around the blade. Minvu stammered, "Hey, No matter how you look at it, you're the one acting more abnormal than me, you know. He asked cautiously, trying to probe her intentions. What exactly do you want? He stared ahead, feeling his throat go dry, instinctively swallowing hard. At the same time, the sharp claws on his hands gradually retracted, returning to the shape of normal human hands as he watched the scene. The girl immediately sheathed her sword, though she didn't know the reason why. But it seems like he has truly recovered. Minvu's eyes widened in sheer astonishment as he looked at his hands, which had returned to normal. What on earth was going on? The girl, maintaining her cold, expressionless face, ordered, "Follow me, we're meeting someone." "Like I'd ever follow you," he retorted. "You were clearly trying to kill me just a moment ago. Who exactly are you? Why did you want to kill me? Don't tell me you're with that guy from before. Don't think just because you're pretty you can fool me. If you don't explain yourself clearly, I'm calling the cops. The police aren't going to let you go if they see you holding a sword and all the signs of an explosion at the scene." While Minvu was blabbering on endlessly, a foot suddenly aimed straight for his face, followed by a relentless storm of attacks that rained down on him without mercy. A moment later, with a face swollen up and a huge bump on his head, Minvu had no choice but to submit. Fine, I'll listen to you. I'll follow you, okay? Van Phi stood silently on the rooftop of the high-rise building, his gaze following the figures of Minvu and the girl as they gradually walked away. That little brat, after being swallowed by the terrifying power of the celestial hound, he actually managed to wake up on his own. The strength of the girl with him is also really not bad. Interesting, this is way too interesting. Next time, if there's a chance, I must find them and have a proper fight. Suddenly, a kick from behind slammed into Van Phi, accompanied by a loud shout. "What the hell do you think you're doing fighting like that?" The sudden kick made Van Phi stumble, reeling in the air. He nearly tumbled off the edge. He hurriedly turned around, bracing his hands on his knees, gasping for air in ragged bursts. His entire body trembled and sweat poured off him like rain. Van Phi pointed at his face and said, "Uncle Dian, you nearly made me fall to my death. How many times have I told you? Do not go looking for trouble with the celestial hound. Are you trying to get yourself killed? All right, I get it. I promise I won't go looking for him again. Happy now." Suddenly, he sensed an unusual presence and hurriedly turned his head to look. Both Van Phi and Uncle Dien turned their eyes toward a figure in white standing tall nearby. They shouted loudly, "Who's there?" As soon as he saw this person, cold sweat instantly broke out on Uncle Dien's forehead. His eyes widened to their limit, and his mouth fell open in utter terror. "It's that little brat. We're in big trouble now." The person in white slightly furrowed his brows, his gaze as cold as a blade as he looked forward. His voice carried an invisible, crushing pressure. "I heard someone was looking to die, so I came here to see for myself. Dien Van Trung, do you feel like you have something to explain?" Van Trung hurriedly waved his hands repeatedly, a stiff, awkward smile plastered on his face. "It's a misunderstanding. This everything is... Sir, please just let me explain." But before he could finish his sentence, Chu Van Phi lunged from behind like an arrow, gripping 3 sharp needles in his hand. "Who are you to call Uncle Dien by his name like that? Get down here and apologize right now." With that, Van Phi swung his hand hard, and the 3 sharp needles flew straight toward the figure in white. Dien Van Trung screamed in panic from behind, "Stop!" The 3 needles crackled with flashes of electricity. They tore through the air, whistling toward the figure in white. Facing the sudden and dangerous attack, the person in white did not show the slightest bit of alarm. His eyes darkened, filled with danger. He effortlessly reached out a hand to block the incoming needles. A powerful gust of wind instantly erupted, creating a shockwave. Surrounding him just with his bare hand emitting a faint white aura, the man in white clamped down tightly on Chu Van Phi's electric needles. Witnessing that terrifying scene, Chu Van Phi stood frozen in place like a statue, his whole body shaking violently. His initial arrogance had completely vanished without a trace, and sweat poured down, soaking his shirt. He stared wide-eyed, stammering in confusion. How is that possible?" Dien Van Trung, his eyes darkened with anger, slammed his staff hard onto Chu Van Phi's head, a painful blow. "You idiot! If you want to die, don't drag me down with you." He gripped Chu Van Phi's head tightly, leaving the boy dazed and confused, unaware of what was happening to him. Then Dien Van Trung used his strength to press Van Phi's head down. Bowing low and apologizing profusely, he stammered, "The child doesn't understand how the world works. Please, sir, be magnanimous and show mercy," as Yunfei hastily pointed forward. He whispered to Wenjong, sounding confused. "Uncle Dian, who exactly is he? Why are you so afraid of him?" Seeing that he still didn't get it, Dian Wenjong immediately snapped, "Shut your mouth!" Wenjong then forced Chu Yunfei's head even lower while still wearing a strained, awkward smile. Trying to explain and appease him, he said, "This kid just started his training and doesn't know anything. That's why he made such a grave mistake. Once we get back, I will discipline him much more strictly." The man in white remained expressionless, letting out a cold, contemptuous huff. "No need. If a child doesn't understand the world and can't remember the rules, then just beating him half to death will suffice." No sooner had he finished speaking than an immense invisible pressure slammed down on Yunfei's body, causing his face to turn as dark as a soot-covered pot, with bulging blue veins popping out all over his face and neck. Sweat poured off him like rain. He gritted his teeth until they clicked, struggling to resist the crushing force, but in a mere heartbeat, Yunfei collapsed face first onto the ground. His vision went black and he coughed up a mouthful of fresh blood. Yunfei lay sprawled on the cold floor, his body twitching uncontrollably as saliva dripped from the corner of his mouth. In a pathetic state, Dian Wenjong stood nearby. Though his heart felt like it was being torn apart, he could only watch in silence, not daring to utter another word. The man in white slowly floated down to where Dian Wenjong stood. "Your sect leader once agreed with me that you would not make contact with that Chu Mingwu, didn't he? You guys were secretly monitoring him from afar, and out of respect I turned a blind eye. But today, not only were you bold enough to show up at my doorstep, but you also forced the heavenly dog to reveal its true form. Old Dian, if you make a mistake, you must bear the consequences, or you'll never learn your lesson. Don't you agree?" Wenjong's eyes widened in horror. Sweat poured down and his entire body shook like a leaf. "This kid Li Yunfei causing such big trouble, it's because I didn't discipline him well enough. But please, I beg you, for the sake of my sect leader, spare his life. As for the consequences, this old man is willing to bear them in his stead." Just as he finished speaking, he pulled out a sharp sword hidden inside his walking cane. Yunfei lay slumped on the ground. Despite trying to force himself up, his body had no strength left. He wheezed weakly, calling out, "Uncle, Dian!" The man in white wore a chilling, terrifying smile. His eyes locked onto Dian Wenjong with heavy pressure. "You've already spoken. Then let it be so." Afterward, he turned his back and waved his hand, flashing a smile full of hidden meaning. "You're getting old. You need to take care of your health, that left shoulder of yours. I've already helped you seal the acupuncture points to stop the bleeding." Hearing this, Dian Wenjong muttered in confusion, "Left shoulder? What do you mean?" But when he looked at his left shoulder, where 3 needles were embedded deep into his flesh, his heart filled with shock. "When did he strike me?" The man in white walked away without looking back, not forgetting to leave a weighty parting message. "Go back and tell your sect leader that from now on Chu Mingwu is under my protection. Ha ha!" In a fleeting moment, his figure vanished completely into the night, leaving Wenjong standing there alone in deep thought, his hand tightly gripping the hilt of his sword. After a moment of hesitation, he decided to bring the cold, sharp blade down toward his own left arm. Cold sweat broke out again, his face twisted in pain and tension. He gritted his teeth until they clicked, and then, with a miserable scream that tore through the night, he hacked off his own left arm. The severed limb flew into the air, its silhouette cast against the full moon hanging high above. He collapsed to his knees, his face as pale as a sheet. His heart was filled with regret and remorse. "Kid, I really shouldn't have told you about the heavenly dog." Witnessing that horrific scene, Yunfei couldn't hold back his tears, sobbing uncontrollably. He choked out, "Uncle Dian, I was wrong." But in another place not far away, the man in white with extraordinary movement darted like lightning through the empty streets. He returned to a neighborhood that looked quite old and dilapidated, where houses were crammed together, patched up and makeshift. After moving continuously, he finally arrived in front of his manor gates. As he opened the door and stepped inside, he thought to himself, "It's a good thing my old reputation still holds some weight. If I had actually been forced to fight, it would have been a real headache." Suddenly, his eyes widened in pain, and he spat out a mouthful of crimson blood. He clutched his left chest, his body shaking uncontrollably, and thought with worry, "I only used a little bit of power to intimidate them, and my old wounds are already acting up." He took heavy, weary steps forward, drops of fresh blood continuously dripping onto the floor tip-tap. He slowly sat down on a long chair. He whispered to himself, "I can't let little Shui find out that I'm wounded." Suddenly, Mingwu's familiar voice drifted in from outside, clear as day. "It doesn't look like much from the outside, but it's actually pretty nice in here, isn't it?" Hearing that, His eyes opened wide in surprise. He found his way back already. He stood up immediately, wearing an intrigued smile full of calculation. I have to leave a deep first impression on him when we meet. Suddenly, a wave of dizziness and vertigo hit him unexpectedly. His whole body swayed and stumbled as he clutched his aching head. Why do I feel so strange? Before he could even find a place to sit back down, he collapsed hard onto the floor with a thud. His eyes rolled back white and unfocused, his trembling hand reaching forward for help. He suddenly remembered one important thing. He had suddenly remembered that it had been 2 days since he'd eaten a single grain of rice. The scene shifts to the quiet, deserted street, shrouded in darkness, where Minwoo and the girl are walking through a small alley. Minwoo stretches wearily and groans, "Ugh, today has been absolutely exhausting." But right after that complaint, the girl speaks up, "We're here." Hearing this, Minwoo immediately scans the surroundings. He looks up with a suspicious gaze and asks, "Wait, this place seriously?" The girl gives a gentle nod to confirm. Minwoo's attention is instantly drawn to the sign hanging in front of the office gate, "Little Son." He asks, "Is this a preschool?" The girl reaches out and pushes the door open, then turns back to gesture for Minwoo to follow. "Let's go." Suddenly, Minwoo calls out, "Hey, hold on, milady. Can I ask you one more thing?" The girl nods. "Milady, what exactly are you trying to do here? And what's your relationship with that guy who tried to ambush me earlier?" Upon hearing the question, the girl stands there lost in thought for a moment, her face remaining cold and emotionless. A moment later, she replies, "Didn't you say you only wanted to ask one thing?" "That's already 2 questions. Minwoo looks defeated and mumbles to himself, "The point has been completely missed. Forget it. The bottom line is that if we go in and meet the person you mentioned, everything will be clear, right?" That's the 3rd question. Which one should I answer first? Feeling completely speechless, Minwoo sighs and pushes the door open to step inside. Fine. Just pretend I never asked anything." In complete contrast to the dilapidated exterior, what appears before Minwoo now is a rather spacious and well-kept estate. He looks like a country bumpkin, experiencing the big city for the first time, walking around with curiosity and admiring everything with great interest. How can the outside be so ruinous and desolate, yet the inside be so poetic? That's pretty strange, isn't it? Suddenly, a bizarre sound reaches his ears, making his eyes widen in suspicion. He turns to the side and hastily asks, "Did you hear some weird noise just now?" The girl looks confused and asks, "What noise?" Minwoo points in a specific direction. "It seems like it came from over there." The 2 of them then stand in front of a room door, where those strange sounds are constantly echoing from. Minwoo asks, "Do you hear it now?" The girl replies, "You're right, there is a strange noise." Minwoo then turns to give the girl a meaningful smile. The girl stares at him looking completely baffled, but right after that, she realizes what he means. Minwoo is signaling that she should be the one to handle whatever is left. She hastily draws her sword and holds it ready. She warns the person next to her, "Get back." The girl slowly opens the room door, and Minwoo stands behind her cautioning, "Be careful, milady." To their surprise, when the door swings wide open, it reveals a room that is completely empty, not a soul in sight. From behind the wooden door, a trembling hand slowly reaches out. Following that is a hollow, gaunt face with sunken cheeks and eyes bulging out bloodshot. It looks terrifying and gruesome. Seeing that horrific sight with his own eyes, Minwoo is scared out of his wits, his whole body frozen like a statue. That frightening face turns out to be none other than the man in white. He is kneeling on the floor, is shaking uncontrollably, reaching out toward the girl and desperately wheezing, I'm starving to death." The girl is taken aback and blurts out, "Boss." A little while later, a table full of food has been laid out. The man in white is stuffing his face as if he's never eaten before. Empty boxes and 8 plates are quickly piled up like a small mountain on the table. He is eating crazily as if he were about to die of hunger, and the naked truth is that terrible fate nearly happened. One hand holds a glass of water while the other grips meat skewers, his mouth packed so full of food that his cheeks are bulging. That horrifying sight makes Minwoo break out in a cold sweat from sheer astonishment. This guy can really eat. The man in white, still holding a sweet potato in his hand, chewing so fast he can't even swallow, has tears in his eyes as he mumbles, You left me here for ages. I'm dying." Through some kind of magical, inexplicable method, Minwoo actually understands those slurred, unintelligible sounds and interprets them for the girl. He says, "You've been gone for 2 days, and are you trying to starve him to death?" Hearing the translation, the girl looks puzzled. I remember leaving money for food at home, though. The man in white, holding a loaf of bread in one hand, slams the table repeatedly with the other filled with outrage. You have the nerve to say that you left me with nothing but 10 cents. Minvu once again is forced to become the reluctant interpreter for Jang Tuyit. He says, how dare you even open your mouth to speak? That little bit of money isn't even enough for him to pull a 10-pull gotcha, and he still hasn't pulled the new waifu yet. Minvu thought his head filled with confusion as he questioned himself. Why can I even understand what he's saying? But boss, we've completely run out of money this month. We haven't received a single commission in 2 months. The electricity, water, and internet bills have been overdue for half a year. If this keeps up, we're going to get our power and net cut off for sure, the person in white kept mumbling. Minvu touched his chin, sweat beads forming on his forehead as he tried hard to decipher the unintelligible sounds. Ugh, I can't make sense of anything this time, Minvu said. After finishing off all the food, the person in white grabbed a water bottle, tilted his head back, and downed it in one go. He rubbed his now full belly and let out a loud, satisfied burp. As for the money, don't worry about it. I'll handle it myself. You just need to do a good job with the task I've assigned you, he said. Hearing that, the girl grabbed Minvu by the collar, lifting him like a kitten and bringing him right in front of the guy. Minvu wore a stiff, awkward smile and gave a very embarrassed wave. The person in white leaned in closer and exclaimed, "Oh, if you hadn't mentioned it, I wouldn't have even noticed." He reached out, poking and prodding all over Minvu's face. "Let me get a good look." What's with these legs? Why are they smoother than a girl's? Minvu felt completely helpless as the person in white kept touching him all over. Wait, stop doing that. Minvu's expression darkened as he snapped, "Hey, are you going to cut it out or what?" He scrambled backward, covering his crotch with both hands, his face bright red from embarrassment. "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" The person in white furrowed his brow slightly, his expression cold and emotionless. He stared ahead, then stroked his chin in thought, his eyes fixed on the standing Minvu. "Blushing like a tomato, huh? I'm not doing anything. It's just that your current situation looks a bit troublesome." What's that supposed to mean? You're just taking advantage of the situation, aren't you? Don't think just because you're handsome you can do whatever you want. Don't get so worked up. Actually, it's no big deal, but it looks like your little life is about to run out. What, it's just my little life being lost? Is that all? I thought it was something serious? But then, feeling like something was off, he turned around. His eyes widened, bloodshot veins popping out in terror. Minvu pointed at himself, his entire body trembling like a leaf. Sweat poured down his face like a waterfall. He asked fearfully, "What do you mean my little life is about to run out?" The person in white nonchalantly picked his ear and whistled loudly, acting as if he hadn't heard a thing. Seeing that attitude, Minvu's forehead darkened, veins bulging as an indescribable frustration welled up inside him. Why do I feel like this guy really needs a good beating? Suddenly, the person in white clapped his hands together as if he just remembered something. Almost forgot. Tiu Tweet, I've got a job for you. Minvu, standing to the side, said irritably, "Hey, stop ignoring me." The person in white completely brushed Minvu off. He approached Tiu Tweet with a grin. "The neighbor Mrs. Vuong's pet cat is lost again. Can you go find it?" Finding a cat again. That's the 3rd time this month. "You didn't forget what our actual job is, did you?" The person in white made a gesture of shoveling food into his mouth. "Eating, of course. You see, our company needs funds to keep running, too." He gave a sly smile and handed a photo to Jang Tweet. "Mrs. Vuong is a total rich lady. The payout for this one is 5,000. Here's a picture of it. Isn't it adorable?" The photo showed the face of a cat with a very derpy and hilarious expression. It was probably just hanging around the West Ha Park area. Jang Tweet nodded, agreeing to the job. "Fine, I'll do it." Watching Tiu Tweet's retreating figure, the person in white waved goodbye. "Good luck. Come back soon, this month. All our expenses depend on this money." Minvu stood looming behind him, a stiff, helpless smile on his face. He raised his hand to speak. "Hey, I'm talking to you. What on earth are you guys actually doing?" The sign on the door says, "Little Sun Workspace." I honestly thought this was a kindergarten for a second. "Oh, you mean the sign? It's just a little camouflage." "What are you talking about?" "Look, the underworld is full of all sorts of eccentric characters. Every move we make needs to be kept strictly confidential. We take on their commissions to get things done. So because of confidentiality, you need a disguise. Wait, so that cat-finding mission you guys were on, was that a commission too? That was just a side hustle to make some extra cash in our spare time. Then why did you bring me here? Did someone put a hit out on me? Or give you a commission regarding me? We were actually commissioned by someone for a very important task to save your miserable life. You're saving me. Who on earth gave you that order? The client is an old die-hard buddy of mine and coincidentally your dear old dad. Hearing that Minvu felt completely baffled, his eyes widening in pure shock. He pointed at himself, stammering, You actually know my father. The man in white sat down slowly and reached for a loaf of bread nearby. He propped his legs up on the desk, took a huge bite of bread, and said with a bitter, frustrated expression, Just hearing your dad's name makes my blood boil. Knowing him doesn't even cover it. It's a real tragedy of a relationship, that is. The last time we met, I accidentally had a bit too much to drink. You want to guess what happened? I got woken up by a waiter at midnight telling me the place was closing. When I came to, your old man was nowhere to be found. I asked the waiter and they said he'd left ages ago. He even left me to pay the whole bill, $8,000 total. As he recounted this, the man in white curled up, tears streaming down his face in agony. I didn't have a single cent in my pocket. And then, about 30 minutes later, after 6 months of grinding away, I finally became a master chef, skilled in every culinary art. But then some guy came in to trash the place, ripped the sign right off the wall in an instant, completely stunned everyone there. Minvu stood there, staring blankly, literally foaming at the mouth from having to listen to the man in white's endless rambling story. You a master chef, what are you talking about? The special kind, maybe the kind that eats a lot? The man in white turned excitedly, asking, Anyway, guess what happened next? Minvu's forehead was gray with exhaustion. A goofy, strained smile spread across his lips, and he felt like his brain was leaking out of his ears from information overload. Enough already, Uncle. But I haven't even gotten to the most dramatic part. No, that's plenty. I've heard enough. If you say one more word, I'm going to go find some legendary kitchenware to beat you with. We've been talking for ages already. Who exactly are you anyway? Heh, I don't really like to brag about my status or reputation, but since we're practically family, Tiet Din Ach, that is my name. When Minvu heard the name, his eyes widened, and his jaw dropped in sheer astonishment. Both Minvu and Din Ok pointed at each other at the same time. Minvu stammered, Wait, are you that person? Correction for flow. Are you that person? Teet Din Ok shouted back, No, I didn't abuse any cat. You better not go around dragging my name through the mud. But I meant, once when I was sick, my dad mentioned a talented friend who could help me. That wasn't you, was it? What kind of sickness? The thing inside your body is the heavenly dog. It's waiting for the right moment to take your life. The heavenly dog, I remember. He said those exact same words. What on earth is this heavenly dog thing? The one we're talking about isn't the same as the one in traditional legends, even though people call it the embodiment of disaster, or bad luck, or the legend of the dog eating the sun. Those are just folk tales. It doesn't actually exist. Rumor has it this energy originates from the mysterious Kunlun Mountains, but nobody knows the specifics. Those who possess this energy have their 5 senses enhanced to the limit and gain superhuman strength. Wood feeds fire, fire feeds earth, earth feeds metal, metal feeds water, water feeds wood. But the thing lurking inside you, which we call the heavenly dog, is a special real entity of energy. It constantly erodes both the host's body and their mind. It makes the host gradually slip into a coma or lose control. If you let it grow unchecked, the power will explode violently, turning you into a frenzied beast. Your consciousness will continue to be severely eroded. You'll lose control more and more often. Eventually, I'm afraid, what will be the end of me? And you'll probably end up a mental case or a complete lunatic. Isn't there any way to get rid of it? Didn't my dad say for sure that you could help me? If your dad is that talented and still couldn't do a thing, what makes you think I'd have a better trick up my sleeve? Then why did you go on and on with that whole vast ocean speech? You clearly just said a moment ago that you could save my life. Wiping it out completely is impossible, but I do have another way, a method that can help you control the power of the heavenly dog. He couldn't hide his suspicion and immediately asked, Are you for real? Yeah. For all these years, I've been trying every possible way to completely eliminate this threat known as the heavenly dog. Tai Ding Yi walked slowly over to a bookshelf, looked up, examined it, and said, Finally, by combining the ultimate knowledge of my life with the techniques of 100 different schools, I've created a miraculous technique capable of turning the heavenly dog into an object you can actually use. Minvu heard this and smirked, muttering, Turning a heavenly dog into a tool for myself, huh? Heh heh. Ti Ding Yi replied while reaching up to pull a book off the shelf. Exactly. It's this right here. Tai Ding-yi held the book out right in front of Minvu's face, excitedly shouting, "Ta-da! This secret manual is The Two Wolves' Divine Skill." Minvu looked visibly bored. He took the book and muttered, "This ragged, falling-apart piece of junk, you're not messing with me, are you?" He flipped through the pages full of doubt, because it looked more like a student's scratch pad than a secret manual. Surprisingly, he saw an old essay written on a piece of paper. The content read, "My dream is to grow up to be a robber who specializes in robbing capitalist banks and local tyrants, then sharing the money with the poor so they can buy houses and cars, and live a truly happy life." Signed, Zhang Tuyet. Below it was the teacher's comment, "Your dream is very interesting. When you grow up, make sure you don't forget your teacher. Keep it up." Along with a note, "You need to watch out for your seatmate, because their dream is to be a police officer." Tai Ding-yi saw this and raised a hand to cover his mouth, his cheeks turning red with embarrassment. He coughed, "Ahem. Actually, this was little Tuyet's old workbook from when she was a kid. I only used half of it and threw it away, but it felt like such a waste, so I wrote the divine skill on the back." Minvu heard this and immediately flipped to the back pages to check. But he broke out in a cold sweat as he stared at the page. What in the world is this? Appearing on the paper were lines of text that one would have to call scribbles from a drunken dragon. The strokes were so messy it was impossible to recognize you call this writing. It looked even worse than a primary schooler's handwriting from the previous section. Ding Yi saw that look, got furious, snatched the book back from Minvu and roared, "If you want to learn, then learn. Stop being so picky. In the end, am I saving you or are you saving me? If it weren't for your dad's sake, I wouldn't even care about you. You're ruining my precious secret manual." Minvu hurried to back down. "Don't get mad, I'll learn right now." But with this messy scribbled handwriting. "Could you please translate it for me?" Tai Ding-yi opened the book, smiling confidently. "Fine, I'll read it to you. Let me open your eyes." But suddenly, the smile on his face froze. His brows knit together tightly. His eyes were glued to the book, unable to look away. His forehead darkened, and sweat began to pour down like a rainstorm. His whole body started shaking uncontrollably as he realized a painfully obvious truth. Minvu, standing right next to him, pointed at Tia Ding-yi's face, which was turning beet red with shame. Then he said, "Don't tell me you can't even read your own handwriting." Tia Ding-yi awkwardly scratched his head, giving a sheepish laugh. "Well, it's been quite a long time. But no matter what, this is a technique I invented myself. Maybe in about 10 days or half a month, I might be able to translate it. Right now, the world of practitioners is extremely interested in the heavenly dog. It's not safe for you to be out there alone. During this time, you can just live here for a while." Minvu nervously asked Tia Ding-yi, "Is that really okay?" "There's nothing not okay about it. The room is empty anyway, so it doesn't matter if someone's living in it or not." Tia Ding-yi casually picked his nose with one hand and held the other out toward Minvu, his tone changing 180 degrees. "The rent is 2,900 a month. You paying cash or bank transfer?" Minvu hadn't even processed the info fast enough to keep up with this sudden shift. He was stunned for a moment, but then he was so pissed off that he opened his mouth and shouted, "What the hell? You're charging me rent too!" Afterward, Tai Ding-yi pulled out his phone and said, "To make it convenient for you to move in, I even thoughtfully sent people to help you pack your things. They should be arriving soon." Hearing that, Minvu, standing behind him, couldn't help but be shocked. He blurted out, "Huh?" Tai Ding-yi quietly walked out of the room, leaving Minvu standing there in a daze, not knowing what was going on. Right at that moment, an old, beat-up car pulled up and parked right in front of the door, packed to the brim with all sorts of clutter. The lady sitting in the car pointed her finger back toward the rear and shouted loudly for old T to clear out this kid's stuff. "I've arrived and finished the move." Ding-ok slapped Minvu's shoulder, who was still standing there in a daze with a face full of pride. "This service is incredibly dedicated, kid. Are you satisfied?" The lady quickly stepped out of the truck with a wide, cheerful grin. "Kid, you're looking pretty good today. That's great to hear. The moving fee is 600 yuan. Pay up, chop chop." As soon as she said that, she pulled out a QR code for Minvu to scan. Seeing this, Minvu felt completely helpless. He thought to himself, "So you two teamed up to target a fat sheep like me just to shake me down for money, huh?" Suddenly, a fair hand pushed the door open from inside the truck, followed by Zhang Tuyet's clear voice. "Miss Triu, 600 yuan is too much. You aren't allowed to overcharge our little son studio. We operate honestly, not like some crooked, greedy merchants." Hearing the fair words from Jiang Tuyet, Minvu was as relieved as if he'd struck gold. He thought to himself, I never expected that weird girl. I'd actually be the most normal person in this place. Jiang Tuyet continued, I just checked the prices online. For this distance, the moving fee should only be around 520 yuan. At this moment, Jiang Tuyet was covered in pets with one cat particularly nestled right between her chest. She continued in a very firm tone, adding an extra 80 yuan isn't right. Seeing this, the lady quickly tried to bribe Jiang Tuyet, whispering, Psst, if you help me get more, I'll buy you new things. You should really try to wear some makeup more often. Minvu felt like he had just suffered a severe mental breakdown. He collapsed to the ground, crying without a sound, lamenting, I was wrong, everyone here is abnormal. Dingok quickly approached them, asking, Little Tuyet, why are you back so soon? Jiang Tuyet held out the pets in her arms and asked back in a hurry, Boss, can you tell which one of these belongs to Ms. Wang? I stared at them forever and couldn't tell. So I just grabbed all of them. Dingok heard this and was at a loss. How about we just let Ms. Wang come and identify them tomorrow? For now, let's just put them inside. Dingok rubbed his chin pointed directly at the cat resting in that prime spot on Jiang Tuyet's chest and declared, Also remember to get this one neutered. Jiang Tuyet heard this and replied, All right, let's do that. As soon as she finished, Jiang Tuyet released the pets into the yard. Once freed, two of the cats immediately lunged at each other fiercely while the others scattered everywhere. Jiang Tuyet turned and headed inside, saying, I'm going to my room to rest. Dingok watched her back and shouted after her, Little Tuyet, you've worked hard today. Then he turned around, rubbing his palms together, his eyes shining like stars as he looked at Minvu. Student Chu, do you need some help moving your luggage inside? Minvu saw that devious look and immediately raised his hand to refuse. No need, I can do it myself. Do you need me to help you bring your luggage inside? Minvu saw that sly look on his face and quickly held up a hand to refuse. No thanks, I've got it covered. He thought to himself, this guy is definitely looking for an excuse to shake me down for more money. After an incredibly long and exhausting day, Minvu tossed his stuff into his room haphazardly and jumped onto the bed, lying out and enjoying the rest. He lay there lost in thought. First I get rumored to be a father, then someone tries to ambush me. And this weird little sun studio? Dad probably knows about the existence of the celestial dog. Could it be that Dad is a mystic too? Whatever, I'll just sleep for now and figure it out later. I'm so tired. Suddenly, strange sounds began to reach his ears. In Jiang Tuyet's bedroom, while she was sleeping soundly with the cats, a figure suddenly loomed over the ceiling. That person was none other than Dingok. In his hands, he held a camera cooing, Little Tuyet's sleeping face is just too adorable. The click-click sounds of the camera rang out continuously, creeping into Minvu's ears and making it impossible for him to sleep in peace. He was forced to helplessly turn on his phone to scroll through entertainment videos to kill time through the night. After a long, restless night, Minvu's face became haggard. His eyes had dark circles like a panda. Just then, from inside the house, a woman's joyful voice rang out, Ms. Wang, I've finally found you. The Ms. Wang, the woman called, was clearly the cat she was holding. She was transferring money while praising them, You found my Ms. Wang in just one night. Little Tuyet, you guys are truly reliable. I'll tip you an extra 1,000. It's just our duty, Ms. You're being too polite. Ms. Wang, if you need anything in the future, just give us a shout. I told you, didn't I? Ms. Wang is definitely a super wealthy lady, but that cat is clearly male, so why call it Ms. Wang? Dingok spread his arms with a slightly weary look on his face, proposing a bold hypothesis perhaps house cats can be gay too. Zhang Shui's expression changed as if she had just had a revelation, and she exclaimed, So that's how it is. That is entirely possible. Minvu walked out from the house with a backpack on his shoulder, yawning repeatedly, and asked, What on earth are you two gathered here discussing so early in the morning? You're awake, are you? Today I told little Shu to take you out for a stroll to get used to the new environment. And after that, I'll personally teach you some basic techniques. Why are you carrying a backpack? Planning on going out? After such a terrifying incident happened just yesterday, surely you don't still want to go to school, do you? Is it really necessary to be that passionate about your studies? Hearing that, tears streamed down Minvu's face. I've already overslept too many times, and the teacher has marked me down multiple times. If I get caught skipping class again, my life is basically over. Nowadays, everywhere you look, there are people with at least a master's degree. The graduates from Tsinghua and Peking University are all killing themselves working hard. If I step out into the real world without a degree, even a stray dog would look down on me. The two people in front of him, having never worked a day in their lives nor attended university, couldn't possibly fathom this kind of struggle. Ding-ak replied blankly, "Oh, is that so? It's way too dangerous for him to go out alone these days. What if he gets ambushed by some villain again, or what if his inner beast kicks in and he starts attacking others? That would be a huge headache. Little Shui, go with him. With you accompanying him, I'll feel at ease." Before Ding-ak could finish, Zhang Shui spoke up decisively. "Fine, but hold on a second. This bodyguard and taxi service, you aren't planning on charging for this, are you?" Ding-ak immediately made a face as if he had been deeply insulted. "What kind of person do you take me for?" Scene shift to the south gate of the Third Digital University of Science and Technology. Sister Trio's car slowly rolled to a stop right in front of the school gate. Minvu happily opened the door and stepped out, not forgetting to turn back to thank her. Sister Trio then pulled out her phone and said in a tone that couldn't be more familiar, "Your ride fare is 168. Hearing that number, Minvu was so shocked his eyes and mouth went wide, completely speechless. He panicked so much that he tripped and sprawled flat on the street. This poor little lamb was about to be fleeced clean. Seeing that Minvu was scared out of his wits, Sister Trio chuckled. "Sorry, I'm just kidding." Jiangxu, with a face as cold as ice, pushed the car door open and stepped out. From his vantage point on the ground, Minvu had an even better chance to fully admire Zhang Shui's stunning beauty. Zhang Shui looked around with cold eyes and advised softly, "I suggest you get up right now." The crowd of students began to focus their attention on Minvu, and whispers started breaking out everywhere. What's wrong with that guy? Is he a pervert lying flat on the ground just to look up a girl's skirt? Honestly, you can't even describe such a creep. Why doesn't he just drop dead? He looks so disgusting. But wait, that girl looks so familiar. Isn't that the girl who's been going everywhere looking for some deadbeat jerk? Wait, is that Chu Minvu? He really isn't human, is he? That deadbeat jerk crawling on the ground over there. It actually looks like Chu Minvu. Whoa, is it really him? Minvu remained still on the ground, his gaze becoming listless and helpless as he listened to the nasty rumors about himself. He struggled to sit up, bracing his hands on his knees, and frowning as he asked, "Wait, about yesterday, were you looking for a deadbeat? And the deadbeat in that story? Is that me, is that right?" "Yes, I came to this school yesterday looking for you." Upon hearing the confirmation, Minvu felt like he'd been struck by lightning, his head spinning. He was absolutely furious, so it was those people who had dragged him into this mess. Sister True, watching from inside the car, could only sigh in frustration, filled with pity. What a poor, troubled child. Minvu walked into the school boiling with rage. His head felt like it was going to explode. "This is beyond saving. You people have completely ruined my reputation. Do you even realize that—" Jang Tweet followed quietly behind him, looking perfectly innocent and oblivious. She began to explain, "The school is just too big, and I couldn't find you anywhere, so I had to use a little trick." Flashback to the previous day, Jang Tweet, dressed in a stunning yellow outfit, asked around, "Hi there, excuse me. Do you know that scumbag, that man whore? Chu Mingvu? Yesterday, that Chu Minvu tried to pull some devious moves on me. When I firmly refused, he resorted to force, trying to coerce me into doing something disgusting. On top of that, he's been juggling over 10 other female students at the same time. He's a professional at playing with people's feelings. He is the common enemy of all women." As she spoke, she burst into heart-wrenching tears, looking so pitiful and vulnerable. Back to reality. Jang Tweet still wore that same innocent expression as she calmly explained, "Once the rumor that you were a man whore spread throughout the school, you'd have no choice but to come running to find me to confront me, and then I'd be able to take you back." Hearing that twisted logic, Minvu could only stand there frozen, his eyes vacant as he let out a bitter, awkward laugh. Good grief, what a low-down, dirty way to think. "Like I said, this wasn't my idea. Someone else taught it to me." Suddenly, the face of Tiet Din Ok flashed clearly in Minvu's mind. He was trembling with rage, his hands clenched tightly into fists. "I don't know why, but I somehow knew right away. Who was behind this? What am I supposed to do now? I can't just carry the label of a scumbag man whore." For all 4 years of university. The Master and Sister Trio said it before. If a man isn't a bit bad, women won't love him. I think after this you'll be a lot more attractive to girls. What kind of joke is that? Where on earth did you get such nonsense? Suddenly, Jang Tweet's eyes widened. She sensed a thick, murderous intent rushing toward them. She whipped her head around, her eyes turning sharp and hyper-vigilant. Jang Tweet lunged forward, pinning Minvu to the ground and shouting a warning, "Get down now!" From the sky, a flock of bizarre birds with blood-red eyes was diving down at a terrifying speed. Minvu and Jang Tweet hugged each other tightly, pressing themselves into the dirt to dodge the surprise attack from above. Sweat beaded on Minvu's forehead, his eyes darting back and forth. Still not understanding what the hell was happening, he stammered, "What's going on?" Jang Tweet furrowed her brows in tension, her cold, sharp eyes glancing to the side to assess the situation. The eerie birds, having missed their target, swooped away and landed on a nearby branch. They sat still on this branch, letting out terrifying, ear-piercing screeches that made anyone shiver with fear. Along the dense trees lining the road, countless more of these birds began to appear. Their blood-red eyes glowed brightly in the gloomy shade. A leader bird spread its massive wings wide. Instantly, the entire flock dove down like a tempest. Minvu scrambled up, dusting off his clothes, and turned to Jang Tweet. "Hey, Miss Heroine, they're coming again." "Miss Heroine, I'll leave it to you to handle them." Jang Tweet opened her bag, revealing a sharp sword hidden inside. "You just stay exactly where you are. Don't run around, stay close to me. There's a high chance there are other enemies we have to guard against an ambush." Seeing the freakish birds diving toward them, Jang Tweet didn't show a hint of fear. A powerful burst of energy exploded from her body. Her hand tightened around the hilt of the sword, her brows furrowed, and her eyes turned cold and sharp. Then she swung the sword with immense power. A whirlwind of energy instantly formed, sweeping the entire flock into the eye of the storm. The birds were struck by the razor-sharp current, sending feathers and wings scattering everywhere. Minvu was sweating bullets. He hurriedly pulled his hoodie up to cover his head to avoid the stench. After finishing off the birds, Jang Tweet kept her expression icy cold and sheathed her sword. Witnessing the scene, Minvu couldn't help but secretly marvel, that was badass. The birds began falling from the sky to the ground. They hit the earth hard, twitched for a second, and then went completely still. Suddenly, Jang Tweet's eyes widened in surprise. When she saw the bloodshot eyes of those birds, her face darkened. Her gaze fixed on the dead bird in the palm of her hand. These pigeons. They seem to have been cursed to be controlled. It's likely a form of dark sorcery. Using some kind of poisonous insect to control so many birds at once. This enemy is definitely no joke. Minvu held out his hand, sweat pouring off him like rain. His brows knitted tightly as he questioned, "Someone is controlling these birds to ambush me. That's impossible. Why on earth am I so hated by people?" Jang Tweet spoke up. "Let's head back for now. We need to report this to the boss." "What did you say? How can we just leave like this?" "I haven't even finished learning yet. To put it grandly, it's about cultural tradition. To put it simply, it's to find a decent job." "How can I just head back when I haven't learned anything yet?" Jang Tweet asked back with a weary look. "So is studying more important, or is your own life more important?" Hearing her question, Minvu was stunned and repeated, "My life." He wondered aloud, "What about these pigeons then?" "They aren't dead, are they?" Jang Tweet replied, "They're just knocked out. They'll wake up in a few minutes." In the end, he had to give up his lesson to follow Jang Tweet back. Just at that moment, in a hidden corner, a girl was using a pair of binoculars. She was watching every move Minvu and Jang Tweet made. The girl lowered the binoculars, her fists clenched tightly, her face full of bitterness and rage. "That wench is a sorceress, and she's actually stepping up to protect that jerk too. Could it be that he attracts so many girls just by using some kind of evil magic?" She spread her arms wide, her blood boiling as she shouted, "That damn jerk! This is absolutely unforgivable." Suddenly, a figure appeared right behind the girl. The what are you doing in my office?" The girl jumped in shock and turned around, sweat pouring down as she forced an awkward smile. "Oh, teacher." The stood there nervously clutching her hands together. With teary, shimmering eyes, she tried to explain, "I was researching the branching morphogenesis of the fruit fly's nervous system, but there are still a few parts I don't quite get." The teacher stood there deep in thought, admiring the's incredibly cute face. Completely fooled by her student's innocent exterior, the teacher turned away, her cheeks blushing slightly. "I see, is that so? Lab number 2 is empty. Let's go there and discuss it more, shall we?" "That's wonderful. I love you the most in the world, teacher." The scene shifted to 3 hours later. After receiving thorough guidance from the teacher, the bowed politely and said, "Thank you so much, teacher. I feel much more confident about the upcoming essay now." A moment later, she skipped happily down the hallway, humming a cheerful tune. "Heh heh heh, fruit flies are truly interesting." This girl's name is Tan the 14 years old. She is currently a second-year molecular biology student in the gifted class of the biology department. Suddenly, a bird flew out of nowhere and landed triumphantly right on top of her head. It left her wide-eyed and clueless. The stood dazed in the middle of the bustling crowd, just standing there blankly. Amidst the moving crowd, she suddenly grabbed her head with both hands and screamed in a panic, "I clearly came here to deal with that jerk! Why did I end up studying instead?" The bird on her head spread its wings and let out a chirp, as if cheering her on. The put her hands on her hips, striking a confident pose as she declared loudly, "You're right, little fly. We must become allies of justice." The crowd around her turned their attention toward her, and giggles began to echo. "Is she slow or something? There's a bird on her head, too. She looks so adorable." The was furious, seething with anger as she walked through the mockery of the people around her. "So annoying. Why do they keep calling me adorable? I am clearly—" Suddenly, the phone in her pocket rang. She immediately grabbed it, put it to her ear, and answered, "Hello." From the other end of the line, a guy sitting in a bar spoke up, "Heroin Tom, the lawyer you asked us to investigate. We've cleared that up. I've sent the documents to you already." A blond, middle-aged man cleaning a glass asked curiously, "Heroin Ton? Who is she targeting this time?" The guy replied immediately, "Wasn't there that murder case involving the wealthy family not long ago? The person being investigated is that exact lawyer. The plaintiff is being countersued for fabricating false evidence, intimidating witnesses, and tax evasion through yin-yang contracts. That lawyer is truly a major criminal." The blond man held a carton of milk in his hand. He sighed and said, "She commissions us twice a week. The commission fees are enough to live comfortably for a while. You should just stay content being an informant under her." "That's enough?" The guy finished the glass of milk in one gulp and shook his head, refusing. "Nah, forget it. It's safer to stay away. That kid doesn't know her own strength. I don't dare to get close to her." The scene shifted to a room where two teenage girls were lying on a bed. The room was a mess with items scattered everywhere, creating a chaotic scene. On the bed, the two young girls sat huddled together, their whole bodies trembling uncontrollably as sweat poured off them from the sheer terror engulfing them. On the floor, black footprints were clearly visible, the traces of some kind of strange creature. Outside, a horrific scene appeared before their eyes. A naked young man hung upside down from a tree, his desperate screams echoing out. The young man's face was drenched in tears, his cries echoing incessantly as he begged for his life. "Please, noble heroine, spare me. I know I was wrong. You'd better turn yourself in tomorrow." The said, perched precariously on a high wall with her hands resting on her knees. She leaned forward and called out, "Tomorrow? Heh heh! You need to go right this instant." At the police station a moment later, the officer on duty for the night shift suddenly jumped in shock. Before his eyes was a man completely stark naked, rushing toward him in a panic. Meanwhile, on a different street, the was strolling along completely carefree. She hummed a melody, skipping along with a spring in her step. Holding a tree branch in her hand with a mischievous look on her face, she raised it high and whispered to herself, "Truly a fine sword. 15 long years just to sharpen a single blade. Cold bones yet to test the sharpness of the steel. Today I bring it out for you to admire. If you have any grievances, speak them out." Her fantasy of being a wandering swordswoman suddenly surged with intensity. Because she had been watching martial arts films for over 180 minutes, she swung the branch wildly, whipping it repeatedly against a roadside tree. Suddenly, the branch in the's hand collided hard with another limb, high above, causing it to snap off. The broken branch fell unexpectedly from above, striking her directly on the head with a painful thud. The collapsed, sitting flat on the ground. She quickly clutched her head with both hands where a massive bump was already swelling up. Xiaohui, her animal companion, watched the's wailing and, looking thoroughly fed up, let out 2 loud caws. Caw. After flailing about for a while to no avail, she sat with her back against the tree, eyes drifting toward the city lights as she sighed. "Xiaohui, tell me, why are there so many wicked people in this world?" Xiaohai replied with another caw. She continued, "They lose all sense of shame for the sake of money, disregarding both morality and the law. Some even risk their very lives. And then there are those lecherous guys. Is it that their desires are never satisfied?" Xiaohai let out a confused squawk. "Chirp, chirp!" The lay flat on the grass and answered, "That's right, I'm talking about that damn old man. Mom is so beautiful. Yet he keeps a mistress on the side. And not just one, he keeps 2. But then I found out Mom is also keeping 13 boy toys. What the?" Truly a bastard father and a bitch mother. They are definitely not meant to be a family. If you don't enter the same door, you aren't of the same house. Neither of them is any good, so I've decided to cut ties with them completely. Xiao Hui seemed to agree, letting out a sharp caw. In the midst of her fervent ranting, she suddenly went silent. Her cheeks began to flush red as she heard the rumbling, growling sounds emanating from her own stomach. The sat blankly, her eyes unfocused as she watched cars whizzing by at dizzying speeds. She lay back down again, sighing dejectedly. I've been a runaway for 5 days now, and they haven't even bothered to look for me. They're probably too busy having fun with their lovers. What a bunch of trash. Compared to that guy Chu Minvu, they're even worse. And that person who stood up to protect Chu Minvu, they were probably just tricked and deceived by him too. But don't think that just because you have someone protecting you, I'm out of options. If I can't beat my parents, surely I can take you down, right? She stood up with her hands on her hips, striking a haughty pose with Xiao Hui perched on her head. Xiao Hui, hurry up and show them the true power of the noble heroine. Suddenly Xiao Hui felt dizzy and lightheaded, his vision blurring. As it turns out, he was simply too sleepy. He collapsed flat on top of the Thee's head and started snoring away. The stood alone at the edge of the forest, not a soul in sight, and shouted in desperation, Xiao Hui, you can't sleep! The scene shifted. Before her eyes appeared a bustling street with crowds of people coming and going. Both sides were lined with stalls selling all sorts of things. Meat skewers freshly grilled. The milk tea is so fragrant. The approached and stopped in front of a bar. She reached out, pushed the door open, and walked straight inside. The bar's interior was filled with soft, melodic tunes. As soon as he saw a drunk man pointed at the bartender and spoke up. Hey, are you guys letting students in here now? The bartender replied, she's a college student. Don't let her hear you calling her a child. The didn't care. She quietly walked toward another door and descended the stairs. Heading down to the basement level, she soon reached the bar on floor B. The's appearance immediately caused a stir among the crowd drinking there. Someone whispered, Noble heroine, it's already this late. Why did you come to my place? I've got that soft drink you like here. Come here, come on. Come and have a drink with me. The walked past a table with her hands behind her back, her face twisted in annoyance. Seeing that expression, 3 drunk men burst into laughter and started gossiping. The one in the red shirt said, in a bad mood today. The burly man in the middle chimed in, definitely lovesick. The long-haired one laughed mockingly. Maybe the school health check revealed she's both flat and short. The raised both hands to her face, opened her mouth, and shouted loudly, Everyone listen up! I have something I need everyone's help with. Hearing that shout, the surrounding people immediately fell silent. Over everyone's head, a giant question mark seemed to appear. You're looking for us for help. What's the matter? The man behind the bar asked. The deer. What on earth has made you so angry? At school, there's a bastard playing 2 sides, juggling over a dozen boats. I went to teach him a lesson, but a sorceress got in my way. It was that girl. She went and protected that scumbag. Finishing her sentence, the held up her phone, displaying a clear picture of Zhang Tuit on the screen. She flashed a sinister smile and continued. Who among you can keep that girl busy tomorrow? Let me handle that guy Nam. Once it's done, money won't be an issue. A tall, muscular man from the trio suddenly jumped up, thumped his chest, and declared loudly, Piece of cake, leave it to me. Seeing this, his 2 friends chimed in, Whoa, big brother, Luke is taking the lead, ha ha ha. Suddenly, the man in the red shirt stepped forward. His expression turned dead serious as he reached out to stop them. Wait, doesn't that girl look familiar? Isn't that the ghost's nightmare? All 3 men instantly broke into a cold sweat. Their smiles turned incredibly awkward. Miss, how about we just skip this one? Ha, this girl Jiang Tuyet, her boss is Tuyet. Din Ak. Their underworld nickname is the Ghost's Nightmare. We absolutely cannot mess with them. Hearing that, the crossed her arms over her chest, looking confused. Tuyet Din Ak, is that the guy who abuses cats? A big guy hurriedly explained. He doesn't abuse cats, but he could treat us like cats and abuse us. He'd slam our heads into the ground and grind them into the dirt. The guy in the red shirt raised his liquor bottle and added, He's truly a legend, a beast beyond anything. He's just too fierce. With eyes blazing in anger, the held up 2 fingers, right in front of the 3 men, and declared loudly, I don't care how tough she is. I will pay double. Hearing that, all 3 men sat back down at the table, sweating buckets out of fear. We can't mess with her, better just walk away. Our lives are more important, haha, you're right. Come on, let's just sing and dance. Feeling utterly bored and disappointed, Lily had to leave the bar in frustration. She clenched her fists, tears streaming down her cheeks, and shouted in resentment. What a bunch of cowardly fools. Suddenly a pair of lips parted and a voice spoke up. Ha ha, young lady, don't be so angry. Shall I help you instead? Hearing the strange voice, the opened her eyes wide in surprise and glanced behind her. Fine, just don't delay the payment when it's all over. Standing behind her now was an old man with snowy white hair wearing a gentle smile. The scene shifted to the next morning at the Little Sunshine Agency. Minvu walked out of his room. He was holding his toiletries, yawning widely, looking exhausted. He had his toothbrush in his mouth, glancing down at the pets playfully clinging to his feet. Moments later, he walked into the bathroom to brush his teeth. Behind him, another door suddenly appeared. Minvu frowned slightly, his eyes filled with surprise when he noticed something strange. He slowly reached out and grabbed the lock attached to that door. The moment Minvu opened the door, he was absolutely stunned by what he saw inside. Jang Tweet was sitting on the toilet wearing her pajamas and holding a book, reading intently. Witnessing that private scene, Minvu jumped, spitting out all the toothpaste foam in his mouth in total shock. He immediately slammed the door shut, his voice trembling with panic. I'm so sorry, I didn't realize anyone was in there. Jang Tweet was now covered in white toothpaste foam that Minvu had just sprayed everywhere. Just then, a pair of long, shapely legs approached. It was none other than Sister Trio, still looking sleepy. She pushed the bathroom door open and said, Little Tweet, are you done yet? I really can't hold it anymore. Seeing Minvu kneeling inside Sister Trio was extremely surprised and asked, What on earth are you doing in here? Minvu awkwardly scratched his face, sweating profusely. He gave a sheepish laugh and replied, I just came in to brush my teeth and wash my face. Sister Trio's eyes widened in amazement as she saw Minvu kneeling neatly on a washboard. Then what's with this washboard? Minvu sheepishly replied, I'm just giving my sincerest apology. After the sound of a toilet flushing, Jang Tweet slowly walked out of the bathroom. She waved to Sister Trio, sorry to keep you waiting. Suddenly, Sister Trio's eyes opened as wide as they could, showing absolute shock as she saw the sticky white streaks covering Jang Tweet's body. In Sister Trio's mind, 1,000 inappropriate scenarios immediately flashed through her head. She stared at Minvu with murderous intent, looking like she wanted to tear him to pieces. Sister Trio lunged forward, grabbing Minvu by the collar, her eyes burning with rage. You little brat! What did you do to little Tuyit? Not giving Minvu a single chance to explain, Sister Trio gave him a brutal beating, leaving him in total ruins. The scene then shifted to a small fried dough stick stall on the side of the road. Minvu and Jang Tweet were carrying large bags of fried dough. With a swollen, bruised face, Minvu turned to Jang Tweet and pleaded, I'm really sorry. I had just woken up, so my head was still in a fog. I really didn't see anything. The whole yard is this big and there's only one bathroom. The design is way too bad. Jang Tweet could only reply shyly. Minvu frowned slightly, holding up the 2 large bags of dough with a confused look. But why buy this much? Do you think the 4 of us can even finish all of this? Keeping a completely calm expression, Jang Tweet replied, the boss alone could easily handle 70 to 80 of them. This much is barely enough to fill us up to maybe 30%. Suddenly remembering the terrifying eating scene of Tiet Dinok resembling a gluttonous fleet, Minvu let out a helpless laugh. You guys must have been eaten into bankruptcy by him already. Am I right? Suddenly Jang Tweet noticed something very unusual. She quickly reached out to block Minvu and warned, Wait! Something popped up right in front of them. It was a dog with eyes as red as blood. Seeing that Minvu covered his mouth and burst into laughter, Pfft, it's just a puppy. Don't be so tense. Rest assured, let me handle it. Suddenly, from behind, barking sounds erupted rapidly. Minvu turned around and was met with a whole pack of stray dogs, with an incredibly aggressive and fierce appearance. Things didn't stop there. The horror intensified as Minvu realized countless cats with glowing red eyes were perched on the nearby wall. Witnessing this terrifying scene, Minvu was drenched in cold sweat, trembling like a leaf. He quickly turned to Jang Tweet. Actually, I'm really afraid of dogs. It's better if the heroine shows her skills. Just then, Minvu and Jang Tweet were standing back to back. They were surrounded on all sides by 2 extremely vicious packs of dogs and cats, staring at the beasts with their strange blood-red eyes. As they bared their fangs and drooled uncontrollably, Jang Tweet looked extremely serious. These animals have been controlled by someone else. Their eyes all had a strange red gleam, just like the birds from yesterday. Jang Tuit picked up a long fried dough stick, her gaze turning icy cold. She warned, "Be careful, don't stand too far from me." From the top of the wall, the cats lunged in unison toward Minvu, scaring the living daylights out of him. He immediately started swinging the 2 bags of fried dough sticks in his hands wildly. Trying to fend off the crazed cats, he shouted bitterly, "Which bastard is targeting me, huh?" Suddenly, a dog showing signs of rabies with drool dripping to the ground bared its sharp teeth and lunged forward. The dog charged straight at Minvu. Opening its wide mouth to bite at his precious jewels, Minvu quickly jumped backward, luckily dodging the dog's lethal snap. Seeing this, Jang Tuet flew in to rescue Minvu. She used the fried dough stick to strike the dog hard, sending it flying away. No sooner had the dog attacked than the cats followed suit. With cats clinging tightly to him, Minvu opened his mouth wide and screamed in absolute panic, "Help me, man-eating cats!" Jang Tuet sighed in frustration, too annoyed to even speak. Suddenly, a pair of feet appeared, moving slowly. Approaching them, Jang Tuet turned to observe. Her eyes were full of vigilance. The person approaching was none other than the old man who had taken the job with the thee. He clasped his hands behind his back, a friendly smile on his face, and said, "Hey, little girl over there, I have something I want to talk about." Seeing the old man standing right in front of her, Jang Tuet frowned, her expression turning deadly serious. She immediately shouted, "Chu Minvu, you go first!" Following her order, Minvu immediately took off running for his life. "Go get him, heroine!" The pack of dogs aggressively chased after him, growling closely at his heels. As he ran and dodged, he shouted, "Screw this! Why are you guys only trying to bite my pants?" Jang Tuet and the strange old man stood facing each other, both silently observing and probing the other. Jang Tuet frowned slightly, her gaze cold as a knife as she stared straight at him. The old man looked back at her with a sinister smile on his lips. He spoke, "Little girl, don't look so scary. I know the art of making sugar candy. Do you want to see a demonstration?" The old man took a deep breath, puffed out his cheeks, and blew hard into a tube. In an instant, the yellow sugar candy in his hand began to take shape. With just simple sugar candy, he had blown it into the shape of a giant bull, looking incredibly fierce and savage. The giant bull charged wildly toward Jang Tuet. Looking at the bull towering as it rushed toward her, Jang Tuet did not show a hint of fear. The bag of fried dough sticks in Jang Tuet's hand suddenly slipped, hitting the cold ground with a thud. Facing the raging bull charging like a storm, Jang Tuet kept her composure. She gripped the fried dough stick as a weapon, exuding a powerful icy aura, swinging the 2 dough sticks with both hands. Jang Tuet unleashed strike after strike like a thunderbolt upon the beast's head, causing its hard shell to begin cracking. With incredible strength, Jang Tuet struck, shattering the fierce bull into fragments scattered everywhere. Surrounded by swirling energy, Jang Tuet pointed her fried dough stick forward. She asked in a cold tone, "Why are you targeting Chu Minvu, who is behind you ordering this?" Seeing this, the old man frowned, his lips curling into a scornful smile. "Little girl daring to fight me with a fried dough stick, isn't that a bit too rude? I absolutely hate brats who don't understand the slightest bit of manners." As he finished, 10 golden threads shot out from his fingertips like lightning, reconnecting with the shards of the bull on the ground. Jang Tuet's expression remained calm, her icy eyes watching the fragments as they shifted, all under the control of those mysterious threads. In the blink of an eye, the fragments reshaped themselves into jagged bulls circling Jang Tuet. She furrowed her brows slightly. Glancing at the shards hovering around her, she wondered, what kind of technique is this? How can he control so many pieces at once? The old man erupted with a brilliant golden aura, his mouth wide open in a smug laugh. "Ha ha ha! My sweet candy constructs are infinitely versatile. Are you having fun, girl?" Watching the reassembled bulls tightening the circle, Jang Tuet took a defensive stance, bracing herself for a fierce, bloody battle. It was about to explode. Suddenly, Jang Tuet spun around to face a bull charging at her with terrifying speed. Without a second thought, she swung her dough stick weapon, shattering the bull into tiny pieces. But immediately another one lunged at her like a moth to a flame. However, before it could even touch her sleeve, she smashed it to dust. Jang Tuet started to feel the strain of constantly repelling the relentless waves of attacks, the relentless, never-ending assaults from these stubborn bulls. Just then, Tun the Thee's bird Little Gray was perched on a nearby utility pole. Its sharp eyes watched the entire battle from above. The old man casually controlled the herd with one hand while holding his phone to his ear with the other, calling, Little the I've successfully kept her busy just like we planned. On the other end of the line, the was waiting in a small alley. Hearing the call, her face turned furious. Don't call me so intimately. So annoying. She hung up her face, scrunched in irritation. That damn old man. Every chance he gets, he tries to take advantage of me. I'm not even his granddaughter. But then again, she mused, at least having him help this hero here freed me up to go deal with that scumbag Nam. At that very same moment, Minvu was running for his life, sprinting away from a pack of fierce dogs, chasing him hard. He screamed desperately, "Help someone save me! Why are you all targeting me? Why do you keep chasing me?" Suddenly, Minvu's eyes widened in total shock as he spotted a figure standing ahead. He realized it was the standing tall and blocking his path. Minvu waved his hands frantically, shouting a warning. "Hey, kid, run away! There are crazy dogs here." The coldly pointed ahead, shouting angrily, "Little Gray now!" Instantly, Little Gray spread its wings and dove forward like an arrow. It flew right over Minvu's head, constantly dropping biological bombs on him. Minvu raised his hands to shield himself from the surprise gift falling from the sky. He cursed in anger. "Damn it! It's bird poop." Panicked and distracted, Minvu didn't watch where he was going. His face slammed hard into a solid wall nearby. He stood there trembling, his brain spinning dizzy, his eyes swirling like windmills, and 2 streams of blood began gushing from his nose. The pointed her finger right at his face, her voice sharp with anger. "Chu Minvu, I finally found you. You're a predator who ruins the lives of innocent girls, a common enemy of all women. Your crimes are unforgivable. Today I, the righteous heroine Ton, will execute justice." Punishing him, she waved her hand to command the pack of dogs and cats waiting to attack. "Get him, tear that pervert's clothes to shreds. We must eliminate this pest for the public." Minvu was so scared he slumped to the ground, shivering uncontrollably. He used both hands to desperately protect his precious family jewels, stuttering, Wait, it's a misunderstanding. I'm really a good guy." Hearing this, the shook her finger, her face full of boredom and contempt. "If you're a good guy, then that Lecher Heeman Ching and would be considered a saint." Minvu flopped onto the ground, throwing a tantrum. He sobbed like a child. "Why are you pinning the scumbag label on me? I'm still a virgin. I've never even held a girl's hand." The crossed her arms, let out a cold, mocking laugh. "Ha ha ha, keep acting. The whole school already knows what kind of bad stuff you've done. Do you think I'm stupid enough to fall for your tricks?" She firmly pointed forward, loudly ordering her pets, "Bite him! Get him right now!" As soon as they heard the command, the dogs and cats bared their fangs and claws. They lunged frantically at Minvu as if to eat him alive. Minvu gritted his teeth, his face showing extreme bitterness and rage. He stomped hard on the ground to build momentum and leaped into the air to dodge. Bright red blood-like energy erupted violently from his body, blasting the pack of dogs and cats away. With his arms crossed and his eyes bloodshot with pure killing intent, he snarled, "Do you even know how to listen to someone when they're talking to you?" Getting mauled by that many dogs at once could actually kill someone you know. Do you get it? As she witnessed that explosive display of power, Thee stood frozen like a statue, eyes wide in shock as cold sweat drenched her back. Minvu had completely unleashed the heavenly dog's power-red energy, rapidly coalescing into a terrifying demonic face. He lunged toward the like a whirlwind roaring with pent-up frustration. "Do you have any idea how miserable I've been lately?" Terrified, the squeezed her eyes shut, not daring to look at him, and screamed in a panic, "Stay away from me!" A moment later, the tremblingly opened her eyes. Her pupils contracted sharply, and she stood frozen, stunned into silence by what she saw. Right in front of her, Minvu, engulfed in the burning red power of the heavenly dog, was pinning her to the ground, his gaze so terrifying it felt like he wanted to devour her alive. Minvu spoke with an icy, bone-chilling tone. "If I don't go berserk, does everyone just think they can walk all over me?" After all, the was still just a young girl, and she was terrified by this nightmare. Her eyes welled up with tears, and her voice trembled with fear as she begged, "Please don't." Even the stray dogs and cats witnessed the scene, terrified out of their wits, as they tucked their tails and scattered in every direction. Minvu's eyes rolled back, turning stark white as his consciousness began to fade, and sharp fangs suddenly sprouted from his mouth. Jang Tweet appeared out of nowhere, her voice cold as she said, "Chu Minvu, do you have any idea what you're doing?" Hearing Jang Tweet's familiar voice, Minvu turned his head instinctively, but his eyes locked onto her thighs without a second of hesitation. Jang Tweet immediately delivered a brutal knee strike directly to Minvu's face. The fiery impact broke the heavenly dog's influence over him, sending him flying backward. His back slammed hard into a beam on the wall. He reached up to rub his head, whining bitterly, "What the hell was that for?" Jang Tweet replied in her usual cold tone, "A second longer and you would have completely lost your mind." While the two were busy talking, the sneakily tried to make a run for it. Jang Tweet noticed and glanced back at her. She asked, her voice full of suspicion, "Where do you think you're going?" The had to turn back, sweating buckets. She flashed an incredibly awkward smile. "Greetings, brother and sister. Actually, I'm just a girl who happened to be passing by." Minvu suddenly burst into dramatic tears and started acting out. He pointed his finger directly at the and shouted his accusation. "It was her! She's the one who ordered the dogs and cats to attack me!" Hearing this, the immediately flipped her attitude. She put on an innocent, angelic face, eyes shimmering with tears of grievance. "Beautiful big sister, this guy is a total creep. He just randomly jumped on me. He's so scary." Jang Tweet said nothing, simply pulling out a deep-fried dough stick radiating oppressive energy right in front of the. This act terrified her and sweat poured down her face like rain. "You can't fool me. Stop acting cute. Tell me your real motive now." Sensing the tension, the trembled from head to toe, her eyes welling up again. "Ah, please have mercy. Spare my life." She then pointed directly at Minvu. Her temper flared up and she screamed in outrage. "It's all because of that scum!" "This is all his fault," Minvu immediately shot back. "I told you I'm not a scum." The fell into a delusional state of grandeur. She put her hands on her hips and struck an incredibly cool pose. "I am a friend of justice and righteousness. Whenever I see injustice, I act to uphold the law and strike down evil. People in the underworld call me Heroine Tan. Rumor has it that this Minvu has harmed over a dozen innocent girls, so I came here specifically to deal with him." "So you didn't come here for the heavenly dog's power?" "Heavenly dog, is that the creature from the legend that swallows the moon?" Upon hearing that naive question, Jang Tweet's expression darkened and she sighed wearily. "The rumor that Chu Minvu is a scum is just baseless gossip. According to our thorough investigation, he's actually a total virgin. Since the day he was born, he's never even had a girlfriend." The's eyes went wide in shock and she hurriedly asked to be sure, "Really?" "It's just a rumor. But everyone said he was a notorious scumbag." Seeing that the was still skeptical, Jang Tweet decisively pulled up her shirt, revealing her slender, attractive waist and a glimpse of her ample chest. "See for yourself, then." After that, Jang Tweet suddenly kicked the wall hard to strike a pose. Minvu could only manage a foolish grin, sweat dripping down his face. A giant question mark seemed to hover over his head as he didn't understand why Jang Tweet was intentionally putting on such a seductive, flirty act. She reached out to gently stroke Minvu's face and whispered, "Come to my room tonight, okay?" Upon hearing that invitation, Minvu became extremely embarrassed, his face turning as red as a jackfruit, and he hurriedly waved his hands to refuse. "What are you talking about? We've only known each other for a few days. Moving our relationship forward like this is way too fast." Finishing her little performance, Jang Tweet turned to ask the who was still standing there, stunned and confused. "Did you understand the point now?" The immediately broke into a bright smile like a flower blooming and gave a thumbs up. "Yeah, I totally get it now. This guy is definitely a certified nice guy through and through." Hearing that verdict, Minvu's complexion turned as black as a burnt pot, his eyes and mouth were wide open in shock, and he felt like crying but had no tears. "You guys, isn't this going a bit too far?" The quickly covered her mouth, struggling to hold back a burst of laughter. "Sorry, brother. I called you a nice guy because I misunderstood you. I know I was wrong." Seeing that attitude, Minvu was incredibly bitter. His anger had reached its limit, and bulging blue veins stood out on his face. This girl was just so annoying. "Well, pretty lady, since the misunderstanding has been cleared up, if there's nothing else, I'll be taking my leave now. Goodbye to the pretty lady and the nice guy, brother. See you both!" Hearing those mocking words ringing in his ears, Minvu clenched his fists so hard his face turned bright red and he shouted in frustration, "What was that? Who did you just call a nice guy?" With eyes blazing with anger, he turned to Jang Tweet to confront her. "That girl!" She didn't show an ounce of genuine remorse. "Are you really just going to let her go like that?" Seeing Jang Tuit standing there intently tapping on her phone, Minwoo hurriedly asked, "Hey, what are you looking at in there?" Jang Tuit replied calmly, "I'm having someone investigate that girl's identity." Her phone screen showed a chat window. The message Jang Tuit sent included a photo of the "thee" with the text, "Help me look up information on this person urgently." The person on the other end quickly replied, "I recognize this girl. She looks very familiar. Give me a moment." Only a moment later, a file named Ton the Dossier 2.0 was sent to her phone. Name Ton the "thee", gender female, age 14, height 144 centimeters, ethnicity Han, hometown Tan Huang Island, major molecular biology, academic status student at the Juvenile University of Science and Technology, type magic, skills, Hong Kong, fighting style, Miaowu dance, spirit, invocation, fortune-telling, tarot reading, Quanjin, Longman internal arts. She knows a little bit of everything, but she isn't a master at any of them. Personality extremely lively and generous, highly righteous and beloved by those in her circle, self-proclaimed friend of justice, who hates evil like an enemy. She loves righting wrongs. Family background. Both parents are wealthy entrepreneurs with assets over 10 billion. This month, her parents were repeatedly caught keeping mistresses and boy toys. Their family relationship is extremely tense and cold. After reading the file, Jang Tuyet commented, "She's not a bad person at heart. She's just a girl obsessed with movies, so she likes to play the messenger of justice role. Plus, her family is loaded." Minwoo frowned upon hearing this. Her character profile is way too messy. I don't even know where to start looking into her. Jang Tuyet reassured him, "At least she didn't lie, so she probably won't come back to bother you again." After that, Jang Tuyet bent down to pick up the fried dough stick lying alone on the ground. "Let's go home. Pick up your dough stick. Everyone is waiting for us at home. I was just so worried when I rushed over here that I accidentally dropped everything." The scene shifted to the Who was panting heavily, exhausted and breathless. Luckily, that lady was actually quite kind. Otherwise, I would have been in big trouble. And those people actually dared to rumor that she was a demon that brings sorrow. They were totally lying through their teeth, knowing nothing. Regardless of who that person is, daring to spread such nonsense almost made me hurt an innocent person. I absolutely have to bring the mastermind to light. The naive girl had no idea that the real mastermind was actually Jang Tuyet. Suddenly, a mysterious figure appeared from the distance, slowly approaching "Is the task I gave you finished yet?" The turned around with a look of annoyance. "I even thought you had been defeated and were too ashamed to show your face to me again." That girl's skills weren't bad at all. In such a crowded residential area, I couldn't use my full strength, which is why I carelessly let her escape. What, she already saved the person? Since that didn't happen and the big task wasn't ruined, shouldn't my payment be settled now? Who do you take me for? Do you really think I'd stiff you on the payment? Just tell me straight up how much you want. That's right, exactly. But you see, I actually don't care much for money. The old man suddenly erupted with strange energy, and sticky candy-like threads began to sprout from his fingertips. The recoiled in fear, shielding her face with both hands, squinting as she peeked behind her. "So what is it that you want, then?" "Naturally, the thing I want is you, my dear, my sweet little niece." The broke out in a cold sweat, her face pale as a sheet. Her eyes widened in utter terror as she watched the horrific, sticky, candy-like threads flying straight toward her. The scene shifts to the Little Sun Agency, where Tai Ding-yi, Mingwu, and Xiao Shui are huddled together eating. Tai Ding-yi frowns deeply. With a look of pure boredom, he stares at a fried dough stick that has gone completely soggy. "You two were out for so long, and you only brought back one single dough stick, and on top of that, it's soaking wet." Just as he opened his mouth to say something to Zhang Shui, Ming Wu quickly shoved a cup of milk tea loaded with toppings into his hand to shut him up. The place was packed today. They were completely sold out. Heh. The person who ambushed Chu Ming Wu before has shown up again. But her target wasn't the heavenly dog. It was all just a big misunderstanding, and the whole thing has already been cleared up. If it's cleared up, that's fine, but how much did you get for the medical bills and emotional distress? Hearing that Zhang Shui just kept her head down, focused on drinking her milk tea, she maintained an innocent, "I didn't do anything wrong" expression and didn't utter a single word. Ming Wu turned to look at Tia Ding-yi. He gave an awkward, sheepish smile. "I let her go. and I didn't take a single cent. Hearing that, Tai Ding-e knit his brows. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and let out a long, frustrated sigh. Tai Ding-e couldn't take it anymore. He shot up from his seat, slammed his hand on the table, and began to loudly lecture her. "Xiao Xue, I've taught you since you were little. In this line of work, you need money for everything. Whenever you see a good opportunity, you have to extort them right away." But Xiao Xue acted like she was listening to a lecture in a foreign language in one ear and out the other. Nothing stuck in her head. "We eat salted melon with mushy rice every single day. We don't even have the extra cash to buy fresh dough sticks, let alone eat out. We're already dirt poor like this, so why would you pass up such a fat opportunity to make some cash?" Hearing this, Ming Wu mumbled under his breath, "That's rich, considering he was gorging himself on a massive feast just the other day." Tai Ding-e immediately reached out and pinched Ming Wu's cheeks hard, continuing to rant while he did it. "Look at poor Chu here. He's been ambushed twice in a row. He's in such a miserable state. Asking for 800,000 for medical fees isn't asking for too much." Even though his cheeks were being pinched, Ming Wu tried to get a word in. Luckily, Lady Zhang stepped in so I didn't get hurt. Tai Ding-e patted Ming Wu on the head. "Even if you weren't hurt physically, your poor fragile heart must have been scared to death. Mental distress compensation is an absolute must." Hearing this, Ming Wu bit his lip, and tears started streaming down his face like a waterfall. "People called me a virgin, sir. I've already sent the files from the intelligence room to your phone. You can go find her and collect the debt yourself." Tai Ding-e stroked his chin, lost in thought. His eyes sparkled like stars, and he was even drooling. "Let's see here. What does this person look like, and how much can I squeeze out of them?" Suddenly, Ming Wu's phone buzzed with a notification. While still chewing his food, Ming Wu frowned and stared intently at the screen. The moment he saw the content, his eyes widened in shock. Electronic mail. June 2021. Technical Class 2 Instructors Official Notification. Lately, there have been a high number of students skipping classes. Many students have missed attendance for multiple subjects. This includes Tran Ki Kon Trin Tuan, Luang Chuming Wu Trio Tu Ham Duang Kao Jia, and Li Lak Nyem. These 6 students are in serious violation. The faculty board has decided that if these 6 students miss one more session, they will fail all subjects for this semester. We hope this serves as a warning. Electronic mail from the instructor, Technical Science Class 2. Seeing that notice, Ming Wu's whole body began to tremble. His eyes went vacant and he broke into a cold sweat. Seeing Ming Wu scramble toward his room, Tai Ding-e hurriedly called out, "Hey, where are you going, Chu?" Ming Wu kept running while shouting back, "To class, I'm about to fail 12 subjects." A moment later, Ming Wu bolted outside with a backpack slung over his shoulder, rushing ahead. Why is it that every time I skip class, they take attendance? Oh heavens, please, I beg you don't take attendance today. Behind him, a figure was riding a bike, chasing after him. It was none other than Zhang Shui. Seeing her on the bike, he looked surprised and asked, "You have an electric bike too?" With a stone-cold expression and not a hint of emotion, Zhang Tuet spoke up. "Stop running around, go home and wait. Otherwise, you're just going to get ambushed again." Min Vu quickly grabbed onto the back of Zhang Tuet's bike, sweat pouring down his face as he forced a strained smile. "Come on, noble warrior, let me hitch a ride with you here, I'm sure. Nothing bad will happen, right?" Zhang Tuet stared straight ahead and asked coldly, "Are you sure about that?" Suddenly, both Min Vu and Zhang Tuet noticed something unusual and looked toward the roadside. It was Little Gray, the bird that the always carried around. The always. It flew in from out of nowhere. The moment Min Vu saw the bird, he panicked, freezing in place, and hurriedly covering his family jewels with both hands. The enemy is back. Min Vu and Zhang Tuet looked confused, not understanding what was happening as the bird circled them, squawking loudly. Full of suspicion, Min Vu blurted out, "What on earth? Why isn't it attacking this time?" Zhang Tuet asked with a rare, cute look on her face. "You can actually recognize the face of a bird." Veins popped out on Min Vu's forehead as he replied, "Even if it turned into ashes, I'd still recognize it. That damn bird belongs to that brat. Last time it even dared to crap all over my head." Little Gray flew over and landed gently on an old bicycle next to a trash can. It stood on the seat, spread its wings, and squawked repeatedly. After squawking for a while, Little Gray collapsed onto the bike seat and passed out. Zhang Tuet frowned, pointed at the bird, and turned to look at Min Vu, puzzled. "What is it saying? Go on, translate for me." Min Vu broke out in a cold sweat. "How am I supposed to understand bird language?" Watching the bird making such a racket right in front of them, Minvu cupped his chin and listened intently. After a moment, he spoke up. Wait, I think I'm starting to get it. Well, keep going, tell me what it's saying. After listening, Minvu's eyes widened in sheer horror. That kid. She got ambushed. As the scene shifted to where the was being held captive, she groggily opened her eyes, looking around in confusion. She was lying inside a room, covered in sticky patches of candy. The suddenly opened her eyes in shock when she noticed something abnormal. One of her arms was stuck fast by the candy. It's so stiff and sticky. What the hell is this stuff? My sweet grandchild, you're finally awake. Where am I? What are you trying to do, old man? We're family and we've finally reunited. Why are you in such a hurry to leave? What is this? Don't touch me! The old man began manipulating the threads of candy, and they quickly wrapped tightly around the V's legs in an instant. Her entire body was now completely encased in candy, leaving only her head exposed. She struggled desperately, screaming, "Let me go! Release me right now!" My good girl, let Grandpa take you to see your grandmother and your father. Who's your grandchild? Are you crazy? Let me go immediately, or I'll call people to come and beat you up. You're done for. Ignoring her threats entirely, he used the candy to drag the behind him. He walked over to a dining table and pointed at two figures encased in candy. Look there, that's your grandmother, and right next to her is your father. Seeing that sight, these eyes bulged, her face drained of all color in terror. She realized in horror that these were the corpses of dead people preserved by the candy coating. Because of the candy, their bodies remained perfectly intact. The entire room was covered in sticky, viscous candy, creating a truly gruesome and terrifying scene. The old man chuckled, recalling the rumors. Everyone said my wife and children had been dead for years. How those people are all full of lies. Just a few months ago, I saw my wife dancing happily in the square with my own eyes, so I brought her home to reunite. Same with my son. I happened to run into him right at the construction site. Tell me, granddaughter, isn't that just a wonderful coincidence? And now I have you too, my precious granddaughter. Feeling the old man's disgusting hand stroking her cheek, these eyes widened, filled with extreme fear. Filled. Her face was pale, devoid of a single drop of blood. The old man continued rambling in his twisted tone. Isn't it fate that brought us together here? Thee's whole body began to tremble uncontrollably, and cold sweat poured off her like rain. She realized that this old man would kill anyone who resembled his family. Her mouth hung open, eyes filled with terror as she stared at the old man's wrinkled hand, slowly reaching toward her. My good girl, you'll stay by my side forever, just like your grandmother and your father, won't you? But as the sticky candy layer latched onto her face, the screamed furiously, Who would ever want to stay with a creep like you? You psycho, let me go right now. Suddenly her eyes widened in surprise as a very familiar sight appeared before her. It was little Hoy soaring straight toward her to save the day. Seeing that, all of these fear vanished instantly. Her eyes lit up with hope, and a smug smirk played on her lips. My reinforcements are finally here. Hearing this, the old man spread his arms wide and flashed a mocking, wide-mouthed grin. Ha ha ha, in this godforsaken place, who do you think is coming to find you? Save you, this construction site has been completely abandoned for 5 years. There's no one in the world who could find their way to this middle-of-nowhere dump. At the same time, outside, Jang Tweet was speeding on her electric scooter with Min Vu behind her, racing like a rocket straight toward the freak's hideout. Arriving at the scene, Jiang Tweet slammed on the brakes, planting her feet firmly on the ground to steady the bike. Min Vu, sitting on the back, raised a hand to shield his eyes from the sun. He squinted, staring in a specific direction to pinpoint the location. Back inside the gloomy house, the was being slowly engulfed by the giant mass of candy. As it swallowed her body, the old man stood by watching her struggle in vain and flashed a twisted, sinister smile. Stop thrashing around! Otherwise you're going to look really ugly once you freeze solid. Suddenly, strange glowing green lines appeared all over the old dingy walls of the room. The old man turned around in a hurry, staring at those green lines, with a look of utter confusion, as if a giant question mark had just appeared over his head. From outside, Jiang Tweet smashed through the window, crashing inside with such force that the glass shattered into countless tiny shards. Seeing the intruder, the old man quickly moved his hands to control the candy, forming a solid shield right in front of him. After landing inside, Jiang Tweet frowned, her sharp eyes scanning the room in an instant. She stomped her feet onto the concrete floor, creating a loud thud, and grabbed the hilt of the sword strapped to her back, immediately shifting into a stance ready for a life-or-death battle. This decisive action left the old man feeling stunned. Refusing to lose, he raised his hands, commanding the mass of candy to lunge forward, and sneered, "What an annoying and troublesome girl." Jang Tuet proved she wasn't someone to mess with. In a split second, she swung her sword, unleashing 2 sharp slashes of sword energy that flew forward and collided head-on with the old man's candy attack. Note: the source text structure was split across lines merged for flow. Suddenly, the old man's eyes went wide with shock, as a strange, inexplicable light flickered deep within his pupils. A massive, bone-jarring explosion erupted right after. The force of the impact blasted the old man out of the house. He flew straight out the terrifying impact, leaving a massive hole in the wall. Determined to finish him off, Jang Tuet immediately leaped out of the house, through the hole, chasing after him relentlessly. With a cold, expressionless face, the old man began channeling his energy, gathering all the candy into his palms. He then used that candy to form a giant, ferocious bull with eyes blazing like fire. It charged madly toward Jang Tuet, who was descending from the air to attack. Facing the monster, Jang Tuet didn't show the slightest bit of fear. Her expression remained calm as she channeled her internal energy into her blade. With a flick of her wrist, she unleashed a powerful arc of sword energy. The sharp strike pierced right through the candy bull. Charging toward her in a flash, the giant bull was completely obliterated, shattering into tiny pieces that rained down to the ground. Keeping her cold, murderous gaze locked, Jang Tuet followed through. She pointed the tip of her sword forward as a threat. The candy strands rushed to reconnect with the fallen pieces, but they were instantly repelled. The reason was that they had been completely frozen solid. Seeing this, the old man broke into a cold sweat, his face filled with utter shock as he gasped, "They're frozen again! I can't control them at all." As the old man fell from the air, he desperately used the remaining candy to form a cushion behind his back. The gooey candy strands slowly twisted and morphed into the shape of a flexible spring, which allowed the old man to land safely on the 3-legged candy structure, touching down on the ground gently. He lay slumped there, his face covered in cold sweat, his whole body shaking uncontrollably. But before he could even regain his composure, Jang Tuet's blade was already at his throat, leaving the old man staring in absolute terror. In an instant, Jang Tuet didn't hesitate to deliver a lethal strike to the old man. Blood splattered everywhere, and the candy spring he had created shattered into pieces. Having lost his support, the old man collapsed heavily onto the cold ground. Blood pooled around the wound, staining the ground. Jang Tuet coldly sheathed her sword, her gaze sharp as a razor as she stared at her opponent. She warned him, "Remember this well next time. The thing in my hand isn't a fried dough stick." After finishing off the enemy, she pulled out her phone and immediately called Minvu to check on the situation. "Hello? How is it going on your end?" On the other end of the line, Minvu was in a state of trying to talk on the phone while frantically using both his hands and his teeth to try and peel the hardened candy layer stuck to the Th's body. "This freaky stuff is so sticky I can't do anything." As she tore it off, Jang Tuet asked in confusion, "Wait, isn't that Nam guy a sorcerer? Can't he just use some magic to deal with this?" A reproachful voice rang out. "I was trying to help you. Could you at least be a little more friendly?" Then came an apologetic tone. "Sorry, I was wrong. Thank you for saving my life." Hearing the bickering through the phone, Jang Tuet felt helpless, so bored she didn't want to say another word. She sighed and commanded, "All right, enough noise. Just wait there. I'll be back to help you two soon." Meanwhile, the old man was still sprawling on the ground, his whole body trembling with pain. Suddenly, he sneakily pulled out a mysterious vial without a moment's hesitation. He tossed the vial straight into his mouth, bit down hard decisively to shatter the glass, and gulped down all the medicine. Immediately after crushing the strange vial, the old man's body began to undergo a terrifying transformation. His eyes bulged, turning blood red, while blue veins popped out all over his face. A sinister black aura erupted from his body. He wore a twisted, wicked smile. "I don't care who you are, anyone who caused the deaths of my wife. And my son deserves to die." Suddenly sensing a terrifying power rising, Jang Tuet, even while on the phone, whipped her head around to look behind her. The old man now looked just like a demon, his expression filled with bloodthirsty hatred, and he laughed crazily. Seeing the old man radiating a thick, eerie aura along with countless sticky sugar candy strips flying wildly around him, Jang Tuet flared her battle energy again and spoke urgently into the phone. "You guys handle it yourselves. I can't come to help anymore." The old man's sticky sugar candy strips started moving, wrapping tightly around his legs, then crawling up to bind his arms. The old man's eyes blazed as a sinister, crafty smile slowly spread across his face. Old man here is really pissed off now. No sooner had he finished speaking than a long, saliva-dripping fang sprouted from the corner of his mouth, and in the blink of an eye he had fully transformed into a 7-footed flaming pig beast with eyes red as blood swirling with turbulent storm winds around him as he threatened. I said I am really pissed off now. Even if you kneel and beg for mercy now, it's useless. But refusing to let her opponent strike first, Jang Tuet quickly gripped the hilt of her sword. She furrowed her brows, her eyes turning cold as ice, as, staring fixedly at her enemy, Jang Tuet decisively drew her sword from its scabbard and lunged forward at terrifying speed, but in a mere blink of an eye. Jang Tuet slashed her sword hard into the old man's stomach, causing a massive gash to appear on his gut, followed by fresh blood splattering straight onto his face. His massive body was knocked back like a missile, crashing hard and pinning itself into the rock face behind him. The impact was so powerful that the rock wall shattered into pieces. The old man's eyes flared red, his whole body radiating killing intent. You wait until I finish transforming before you attack. That is just too rude. An ill-mannered brat like you is truly detestable. No sooner had he finished than the old man stomped his feet to gain momentum and leaped high into the air. I have to teach you a lesson. Right in front of Jang Tuet, the old man clenched his fist and opened his massive mouth wide, revealing fearsome sharp teeth, then immediately dove down from the sky. He threw a powerful punch at Jang Tuet's position, but she quickly stepped back to dodge the dangerous blow. After missing, he rose up looking fierce. His eyes still glowing, he glared greedily at the girl, looking down at his own hand, radiating red power, muttering gleefully. The power of this pill is incredible. It feels like I have been rejuvenated by 50 years. Now prepare to taste the power of my prime. After saying that, he clenched his hand into a fist and charged like a landslide toward Jang Tuet. She remained calm, unafraid, and swung her sword to clash directly against his fist. As he pulled his hand back from the impact, he growled, "Do you have any idea how much I've looked forward to the moment of my family's reunion? It was clearly only a step away from succeeding, but you ruined everything." With that bitter complaint, he put all his force into his fist once more and struck a thunderous blow against Jang Tuet's sword. Jang Tuet's delicate brows knit together as she stared at the blade which was vibrating violently in her hand, thinking in surprise, he didn't just block my strike. He even deflected my energy. Just as she was deep in thought, Jang Tuet's eyes widened in shock as she saw the old man's giant foot, appearing right in front of her, accompanied by his shouting, "Did your parents never teach you not to go around bothering other people's family reunions, huh?" Jang Tuet's reflexes were lightning fast. She instantly raised her sword to block the old man's powerful kick, but the sheer force of the blow was too much, driving her back. She skidded a long way across the ground, forced to slam the tip of her blade into the earth just to come to a stop. Struggling to steady herself, she looked up and replied in a cold, sharp voice, "It's a real shame for you. I may have grown up without parents, but I once had someone teach me this. The great Tao flows through the veins. Technique is governed by virtue and trust, and righteousness must dwell within the heart." As Jang Tuet unleashed a surge of incredibly powerful energy, the old man charged at her like a madman. He clenched his fist, his face twisted with rage, and he roared, "Who could possibly understand all that gibberish you're spouting? Nobody would have a clue." Jang Tuet took a calm, steadying breath to settle her energy before launching her technique. Plum Blossom, Forest, Tortoise, and Crane. First style scattered petals in the wind. Instantly, 5 streams of icy freezing energy shot toward the old man. As he charged forward, those streams of energy converged, hardening into massive razor-sharp icicles that pierced straight through him. He let out a blood-curdling scream of agony and collapsed, spitting out a mouthful of dark crimson blood as the 7-foot fire demon armor encasing him shattered. Pieces of his body broke off in huge chunks. The moment those fragments hit the ground, they were instantly frozen solid by the cold. With a face as cold as stone, showing no emotion at all, Jang Tuet pointed her sword forward and explained, "The meaning of those words is that you should never use your arts to commit evil." The old man knelt on the ground, weak and defeated, his brow darkened with bitterness. "I just wanted my family to be reunited. What could possibly be wrong with that?" Hearing his desperate justification, Jang Tuet stood there dumbfounded and asked, I was only saying that kidnapping people is wrong, that's all." But fueled by his obsessive fixation, the old man suddenly wore a sinister grin. He staggered to his feet, his eyes glowing intensely as a terrifying and bizarre power erupted from his body. He transformed once again into the hideous form of the 7-foot demon, radiating swirls of black and red energy, and let out a roar of pure fury. Seeing that sight, Jang Tweet was stunned, gasping, "This energy, it's the heavenly sphere!" Immediately after, the old man accelerated, charging forward like a whirlwind of rage. He screamed at the top of his lungs, "I hate all of you!" With the impact, Jang Tuyet's sword was sent spinning high into the air. Because the gap in power was just too great, Jang Tuyet couldn't dodge his vicious strike in time. Jang Tuyet gritted her teeth in pain, spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood from the sheer, crushing force of the blow. The impact sent her flying backward a great distance. The old man spread his arms wide, continuing to unleash his overwhelming power, creating fierce storms of energy all around him. He bellowed, "Whatever I want, no one can stop me." Meanwhile, Minvu had returned to the scene. He stood on a high cliff observing the battle below with the thee beside him still struggling to peel off the leftover sticky candy from her body. Seeing the situation below growing dire, he touched his chin, trying to stay calm and analyze the fight. This doesn't look good at all. The swordswoman is already injured. I have to find a way to help her escape, but if I jump in now, I'm just feeding myself to him. What should I do? Suddenly, Minvu's eyes widened as the thought of using the power of the heavenly sphere crossed his mind, but he instantly shook his head violently, dismissing the crazy idea. "No! Absolutely not. That kind of power? It's not something I can just use whenever I want." After a moment of hesitation, Minvu decided to risk it all and slid down the slope. If he was going to die, so be it, saving her was more important. Down below, amidst the clouds of dust, Jang Tuyet struggled to sit up. She wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth just as Minvu hurried over to support her. Note this was combined with the previous line for flow. He asked anxiously, "Are you okay?" Minvu hurriedly helped Jang Tweet up and quickly led her away while the old man was still distracted by his own madness. "Let's get out of here." Even though she was seriously injured, Jang Tweet was stubborn. She glanced at Minvu and whispered, "His power, it's so similar to yours. I can't just leave him like this." Minvu, shocked, hoisted Jang Tweet onto his back and rushed to find an escape route. "What are you talking about? Now is not the time for that. Keeping ourselves alive is what matters most." But the old man had spotted them and was quickly closing in from behind. Seeing that, Minvu broke out into a cold sweat, screaming in terror, "Oh no, he's caught up to us!" Just as the old man brought his fist down, Jang Tweet twisted her body, shielding Minvu and taking the hit herself. She took the full force of the devastating blow. A deep, jagged wound appeared on her stomach and blood sprayed violently into the air.